Chapter 2051 Pickup. If I'm not mistaken, Jian Wushuang will arrive in Bronze Heart region in no time. By then, the 7 of us will apply battle formation and join forces with Mr. Demon King to hem him in. Then kill him. A lady in a white robe who stood among the 7 great emperors said coldly. The battle formation that the 7 of us will form is best at trapping people. As long as Jian Wushuang comes to Bronze Heart region, no doubt he will die. Yes, he will die, the other few great emperors said. They were obviously confident about their battle formation. They were waiting patiently too. The time continued to fly past. In the vast void in Three Emperors' world, Jian Wushuang continued to plunge forward. The direction in which he was flying led to Bronze Heart region. Demon King Chun Yu and the other great emperors saw, and they continued to follow closely behind him. Demon King Chun Yu smirked in his heart when he saw the direction Jian Wushuang was plunging in. Jian Wushuang, even though you have impressive skills, your final outcome is death. You can't escape Three Emperors' world. Demon King Chun Yu knew that there were 7 great emperors waiting at Bronze Heart region. When Jian Wushuang got there, he would work together with the formation of the 7 great emperors to take down Jian Wushuang. That was the plan in his head. However, just as Jian Wushuang passed another region, there were less than 3 regions to reach the Bronze Heart region. Swoosh! Jian Wushuang suddenly plunged in another direction. He flew towards another void. What? Demon King Chun Yu suddenly grew glum. From what he saw, Jian Wushuang should have continued to rush to the Bronze Heart region. He definitely has to go there. Emperor Bai in Sanctuary Alliance had already commanded the experts in Sanctuary Alliance to pick Jian Wushuang up from Bronze Heart region. Emperor Bai gave a command, and the great emperor in Sanctuary Alliance had already departed. They were really rushing to Bronze Heart region. Of course, Jian Wushuang has to go there too. Did he do that to confuse me? Demon King Chun Yu creased his eyebrows and said, it was merely his suspicion, but it was a feasible suspicion. Jian Wushuang's following actions cleared up his suspicion entirely, because after Jian Wushuang passed through another region, he continued to plunge to a region further away from Bronze Heart region. D****. This boy didn't intend to go to the Bronze Heart region at all. Demon King Chun Yu instantly roared in anger. At the same time, he sent a message to question him. What's going on? Didn't you say the great emperors in Sanctuary Alliance are going to pick him up from Bronze Heart region? Why doesn't this boy look like he is going to Bronze Heart region? However, on the other side of the communication token, the reply was simple and straightforward. He said that it was really Emperor Bai's command, and the great emperors in Sanctuary Alliance were reaching Bronze Heart region. In other words, Emperor Bai's command was true, and the fact that great emperors in Sanctuary Alliance were going to pick up Jian Wushuang was true also. However, Jian Wushuang going to Bronze Heart region was fake. **T. Demon King Chun Yes heart skipped a beat, and he instantly understood. This boy never intended to head to Bronze Heart region. Emperor Bai sent the great emperors in Sanctuary Alliance to Bronze Heart region to confuse us. They definitely found out that our spy is among the higher-ups in Sanctuary Alliance. Hence, they beat us at our own game. They used our spy to give us a piece of false information. D****. We were fooled. Demon King Chun Yes' face grew grave. There was no doubt that they had been schemed against by Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai. Jian Wushuang had never thought of going to Bronze Heart region. He had been running in the direction of the Bronze Heart region because he was pretending. Now, Jian Wushuang had already stepped foot in the border region of Three Emperors' world. In this region, there were 2 figures waiting for Jian Wushuang. The 2 people were Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiu Qiao. The two of them who stood in the void saw Jian Wushuang appear at the end of their sights, and they looked thrilled. Haha, Jian Wushuang, Sword Emperor. The two great emperors immediately greeted Jian Wushuang. Abysmal Saint Master, Emperor Jiu Qiao, long time no see. Jian Wushuang laughed heartily, and the three of them quickly gathered. Jian Wushuang also stopped running away. As he was there, it was not necessary for him to escape anymore. Demon King Chen, yes, demonic, might spread, and he appeared not far from Jian Wushuang, and he stopped too. Then, the total of 13 great emperors who had followed the lead of Lingzong, they followed behind since Imperial Peak. Demon King Chen Yu and the 13 green emperors were staring at Jian Wushuang. It was as though they were going to eat Jian Wushuang alive. Jian Wushuang, you are really skillful. Since you escaped Imperial City, you have been running in the direction to Bronze Heart Region. You intentionally made us think that you were running to Bronze Heart Region, but in the end, you came to this region? Demon King Chen, yes, voice was cold. Humph, I knew the movements of Sanctuary Alliance so well. Why would I run to Bronze Heart Region and fall into your trap again? Jian Wushuang sneered. Demon King Chen Yu, you must think I'm stupid, but I am certain that there's really a double agent among the higher-ups in Sanctuary Alliance because of this. Demon King Chen, yes, face grew grave, but he wasn't surprised. Jian Wushuang did it on purpose. He had obviously made use of the double agent. You are not stupid, but you are too proud of yourself. You should have left Three Emperors' world without hesitation, but you stopped. You gave me another chance to kill you. Demon King Chen, yes, gaze was cold, and the jade ruler in his hand shined with a bright light again. The jade ruler was one of his very impressive treasures. It could turn into a sturdy yellow sand realm. However, as the yellow sand realm had been broken once, it would need some time to be repaired and used again. Now, after another round of chasing, the yellow sand realm had been repaired. He could totally perform it again. Hence, he naturally had another chance to kill Jian Wushuang. However, Jian Wushuang flashed a malicious smile when he heard what Demon King Chen Yu said. Demon King Chen Yu, I think you misunderstood something. Now, the person who should run isn't me. It should be you. Demon King Chen Yu was stunned. The next moment, at the end of the void, there was a figure in a gray robe that appeared and was slowly walking over. He had white hair and white eyes. Even his skin was terrifyingly fair. He was a man, but his beautiful face would put all the women in Eternal Chaotic World to shame. His charming appearance with his fair skin made him look aloof. However, his arrival made Demon King Chen, yes, eyes dilate in shock. Emperor Bai. Chapter 2052 Emperor Bai came. The person who was walking over was Emperor Bai. He walked over leisurely, and his footsteps were slow. However, his footsteps in the void were ringing like a heavy drumroll in Demon King Chen Yes and the other great emperors' heads. One step, two steps, Demon King Chen, you looked unprecedentedly solemn. Emperor Bai was a legend in Eternal Chaotic World. He was also widely known as the strongest one. In the beginning, Demon King Chen, you had even turned his nose up at Emperor Bai, because he had never fought with Emperor Bai, had never thought he would be weaker than Emperor Bai. Not long ago, he had heard from Long Rushua that Emperor Bai had injured Lord Fan badly. Hence, he couldn't help but have scruples. Now, Emperor Bai had appeared before him. Mr. Emperor Bai. Jian Wushuang, Abysmal Saint Master, Emperor Jiu Qiao bowed to Emperor Bai. They weren't surprised by Emperor Bai's arrival because it was originally within Jian Wushuang's plan. Jian Wushuang wanted Emperor Bai to command the great emperors in Sanctuary Alliance to pick him up from Bronze Heart Region so that it would mislead the experts in Three Emperors' world. At the same time, Emperor Bai had to come to this region himself. Emperor Bai was the person who was truly taking Jian Wushuang. Emperor Bai nodded, but his eyes were fixed upon Demon King Chenyu. Such demonic might. You should be the one from Acheron Palace, Demon King Chenyu. Am I right? You know me? Demon King Chen. You stared at Emperor Bai. Of course. Emperor Bai smiled faintly. I know all three experts that were left back then. Among the three of you, only Lord Fen fought with me. You will be second. I wonder how your power is compared to Lord Fen. There's only one way to find out. Demon King Chen, you was outraged. He moved and took the initiative to pounce on Emperor Bai. On the way, the divine weapons in his 8 arms suddenly swept out fiercely. His terrifying might reached its limit. Emperor Bai remained composed at the sight. However, there was a huge golden shadow that soared up behind him immediately. The golden shadow was a golden emperor. He was 99,000 zhang tall and 3,000 zhang broad. His golden eyes looked smug. He looked down as though everything living thing in the universe should yield to him. Emperor Bai fought too. His slender arms instantly raised his fists. Then there was a condensation of explosive power. Open! A word was uttered. The golden shadow that was 99 zhang tall behind Emperor Bai clenched its right hand too and condensed boundless force. As Emperor Bai punched, rumble! The void in front immediately shattered. It swept away everything. It was as though nothing, not even the universe and the space-time, could take the punch. The terrifying punch collided with the 8 divine powers that Demon King Chen you wielded. Bang! There was suddenly a loud bang that spread. In the middle of the battlefield, the crimson broadsword that tainted the universe red fell to the side. The originally fierce club flew to the side. The huge mountain that was transformed by the seal cracked from the middle and collapsed. Every divine weapon that brought about powerful attacks dissolved under the punch. Even Demon King Chen Yu himself took a few steps back. But then Emperor Bai, standing in front of the 99 zhang tall golden shadow, took a stride forward. As he took the stride, rumble! The surrounding space-time pressed at Demon King Chen Yu. Demon King Chen Yu was only fighting against Emperor Bai alone. However, he felt like he was fighting against the entire universe. There was a large amount of golden light that burst out and formed a golden ocean of divine power. In the golden ocean of divine power, Emperor Bai attacked continuously. Bang! 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 There were loud bangs, and every single one would strike fear in any great emperors. It constantly resounded from the core of the golden ocean of divine power. Jian Wushuang stood outside the golden ocean of divine power, but even he could feel the billowing movement. He couldn't help but feel astonished. However, the battle only took place for a short while. Swoosh! There was a figure that burst out from the golden ocean of divine power. The figure belonged to Demon King Chen Yu. The difference from before was that Demon King Chen Yu looked pale now. He had 8 arms, but 2 of them were broken. His aura was obviously much weaker than before too. Humph! A cold humph reverberated in the universe. The golden ocean of divine power slowly dispersed, and the scene within was slowly exposed. Emperor Bai stood there perfectly intact. The 99,000 zhang tall shadow was still there. His aura grew even more terrifying. However, he looked at Demon King Chen Yu in anger and disappointment. Demon King Chen Yu, at first I thought that if you were one of the 3 who survived, you should be on par with Lord Fen. Even if you were not much stronger than Lord Fen, you shouldn't be much weaker. However, the facts show otherwise. You are far behind Lord Fen. Emperor Bai's cold roar reverberated through the universe. When I fought Lord Fen, At least I had to take out all I had to defeat him or to even severely injure him. But you don't even make me go all out. Go away. Emperor Bai waved, and the wave contained boundless might. Demon King Chen, you stood there. He heard Emperor Bai's remark, and his face was red and white from embarrassment and anger. The fire in him ignited too. However, no matter how angry he felt, he knew that he wasn't Emperor Bai's match. Hence, he would merely be humiliating himself if he were to continue the fight. Emperor Bai, I lost today, but don't be too happy about it. In no time, I will take revenge. When I do, I will bury you along with Eternal Chaotic World. Demon King Chen, you bellowed, and turned and plunged into the far-off void without turning back. Even Demon King Chen Yu was suppressed, and he could only leave. Why would the 13 great emperors, who could do nothing to Jian Wushuang, stay back? They immediately left too. In the vast void, there was only Emperor Bai, Jian Wushuang, Abysmal Saint Master, and Emperor Jiu Qiao. Emperor Bai watched Demon King Chen Yu as he left, but there was a strange light shimmering in his eyes. He muttered, "The 3 experts that survived, I fought with Lord Fun, and Demon King Chen Yu fought with me. Both of them lost to me. There is only Kaiser Blood. Who was the strongest?" Kaiser Blood. I wonder when I'll get a chance to fight with him. I hope that his power is stronger than Lord Fen's and Demon King Chen, yes. Had better not disappoint me. Chapter 2053 left 3 Emperors' World. Demon King Chen Yu and the others left. Jian Wushuang's danger naturally was resolved. Then the 4 of them plunged out of 3 Emperors' World. In Eternal Chaotic World, in the vast dark void, the dark millstone that was a few times bigger than a holy kingdom in size had already stopped spinning. In an unnoticeable corner of the dark millstone, there were a few figures that pushed through layers of prohibitions and came out. Ha, we're out. We are finally out. Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiu Qiao looked at the surrounding dark void, and they looked overjoyed. Jian Wushuang was filled with excitement too. Over the years, they had been wandering in 3 Emperors' World. In 3 Emperors' World's land, they had to be cautious and alert at all times. Any careless mistake, and they would be doomed forever. They had finally returned to the Eternal Chaotic World. As they returned, they were the masters, and they could finally relax. The Emperor Supreme Rock was destroyed, and the Dark Millstone has been stopped entirely. Our mission was a complete success, Abysmal Saint Master said in surprise. Thanks to Sword Emperor. If it wasn't him, the few of us might not even have been able to destroy the Emperor's Supreme Rock. Emperor Jiu Qiao smiled. Jian Wushuang shrugged and let out a breath of relief. It's a pity that Ji Luo won't be able to walk out of 3 Emperors' World with us. Otherwise, our mission could have been considered perfect. Hearing Great Emperor Ji Luo's name, Abysmal Saint Master, and Emperor Jiu Qiao became quiet among the 4-member expert troupe. The 3 of them had survived, but Great Emperor Ji Luo would forever stay in 3 Emperors' World. Ji Luo died for Sanctuary Alliance. Sanctuary Alliance, and also the entire Eternal Chaotic World, won't forget about her. Emperor Bai said, Jian Wushuang, Abysmal Saint Master, and Emperor Jiu Qiao nodded. This aside, Mr. Emperor Bai, how's the situation at Bronze Heart region? Jian Wushuang asked. Just as we thought, 3 Emperors' World has sent experts to wait for your arrival there. Earlier, they fought with our great emperors from Sanctuary Alliance, but I sent them a message asking them to return not long after they started fighting. I reckon they will leave 3 Emperors' World soon too. Emperor Bai smiled. The dark millstone stopped spinning, and the great formation collapsed. Hence, the messages could go to and fro in the Eternal Chaotic World and 3 Emperors' World without any hindrance. It was unnecessary to rely on Emperor Jiu Qiao's doppelganger to send a message anymore. It's really working as such. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes with a tinge of coldness. Jian Wushuang, your plan was wonderful. Not only did you escape from Three Emperors' world, you also verified something for Sanctuary Alliance. That is that our enemy's spy is among the higher-ups of Sanctuary Alliance, Emperor Bai said. However, although we know that there's a spy, it is hard to determine who the spy is exactly. Emperor Bai asked in a deep voice. Jian Wushuang, Abysmal Jiu Qiao, who do you think is suspicious? Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiu Qiao exchanged a glance, then both shook their heads. There is a total of 13 great emperors. There are 14, including Jian Wushuang. Putting the 4 of us aside, for now, there are 10 other great emperors, and the spy is hidden among the 10 of them. As long as they didn't give themselves away, I don't think it'll be easy for us to determine, Abysmal Saint Master said. That's true. At least I won't be able to gauge who the spy is. As for a suspect, I don't have anyone in mind either, Emperor Jiu Qiao said. Needless to say, among the 14 great emperors, it was impossible for Jian Wushuang and Emperor Bai to be spies. Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiu Qiao had known of the plan beforehand, while Three Emperors' world fell right into Jian Wushuang's trap. Hence, the 2 of them naturally weren't suspects. They could eliminate the 4 of them, but there were still 10 great emperors left. Among the 10 great emperors, Red Dragon, Chen, Su, Colored Glaze. I feel like none of them are. Abysmal Saint Master creased his eyebrows. He obviously couldn't think of anyone suspicious. But then, Jian Wushuang was in deep thought. Suddenly, he spoke. Well, I suspect someone. Who? The 3 of them immediately looked at Jian Wushuang. Great Emperor Su. Jian Wushuang said. Su. Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiu Qiao creased their eyebrows. Great Emperor Su was an extremely ancient great emperor in Sanctuary Alliance. He never questioned any worldly affairs. Plus, his temperament and reputation was good too. Could he be a spy? Jian Wushuang, tell us your reason, Emperor Bai said. I am not certain that Great Emperor Su is a spy, but I find him suspicious. I have 2 reasons. Firstly, real God Wu Bai's death. Jian Wushuang said. Wu Bei. They looked surprised at the answer. I know about real God Wu Bei. Although he is an inverse cultivator, his talent and comprehension level are ordinary, Abysmal Saint Master said. Yes, real God Wu Bai's talent and comprehension level are SOSO. However, due to the fact that he is an inverse cultivator, if he were to really step foot in the 7th step of inverse cultivation, he would also possess the fighting power of a great emperor. He would even stand a chance to become a top great emperors. Equal to you, Abysmal Saint Master, Jian Wushuang said. However, he only reached the 6th step before he died. The person who killed him was Demon Heart Kingdom Monarch, which is widely known. However, when my power reached a certain level and I went to kill Demon Heart Kingdom Monarch to take revenge on behalf of real God Wu Bei, Demon Heart Kingdom Monarch said that the reason he killed real God Wu Bei was that Great Emperor Su had commanded him to behind his back. Judging from the situation, then, I don't think he was lying. The 3 of them were surprised to hear the story. Great Emperor Su had commanded Demon Heart Kingdom Monarch to kill real God Wu Bei. From what they knew, real God Wu Bei had never come across Great Emperor Su, let alone had dealings with him. On top of that, even if real God Wu Bei had really offended Great Emperor Su, he could totally have killed him directly. There was no need to go through the trouble of getting Demon Heart Kingdom Monarch to kill real God Wu Bei on his behalf. He had even told Demon Heart Kingdom Monarch to be tight-lipped. There must be a reason behind it. Jian Wushuang, What you mean is that Great Emperor Zisu was worried that real God Wu Bei might step foot onto the seventh step of inverse cultivation and become one of the great emperor fighting powers of Sanctuary Alliance. Hence, Zisu killed him in secret, emperor by guest. That is the only possibility, Jian Wushuang said. That's possible, Abysmal Saint Master suddenly said. Mr. Emperor by Sword Emperor, speaking of Zisu, I do find him strange. Oh, Jian Wushuang, an emperor by looked at Abysmal Saint Master. Sword Emperor, you know this best. Back when you had yet to step foot in the seventh step of inverse cultivation, there were some great emperors in Sanctuary Alliance, including myself, that didn't wish to see you grow. I even found ways to kill you then. Abysmal Saint Master took a glance at Jian Wushuang solemnly. Chapter 2054, The Suspec. 2054, The Suspec. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and looked at Abysmal Saint Master strangely. He had shared resentment with Abysmal Saint Master before. Abysmal Saint Master had looked for an opportunity to kill him back then. However, after a trip to Three Emperors' World, their resentment had naturally been resolved. Now, both parties held no grudges. They could even be considered great friends. Jian Wushuang understood Abysmal Saint Master. Although he was jealous, he wasn't one that acted hastily. Abysmal Saint Master paused and continued, I wanted to kill you, Sword Emperor. However, my intention was frank. All the great emperors in Sanctuary Alliance knew that I didn't want to see you grow and be above me. I wasn't hiding anything. However, Zisu was different. Before the danger of eternal chaotic world was revealed, before I really took action against you, Zisu once revealed his intention to kill you when he was talking to me. In our conversation, now that I think back, there was a tinge of incitement in his speech. Incitement? Jian Wushuang was stunned. Great Emperor, Shizu wanted to kill him and had incited Abysmal Saint Master to come after him. However, Great Emperor Zisu behaved rather gently and humbly when had met Jian Wushuang. He didn't reveal anything different. Besides Abysmal Saint Master, the other great emperors in Sanctuary Alliance couldn't have known that Great Emperor Zisu had wanted to kill him. From what I know, Zisu is laid back and gentle. He never questions the affairs in Sanctuary Alliance. He almost never takes the initiative to offend anyone, but he killed real God Wu Bei in secret and wanted to kill you, Jian Wushuang. Forget about the fact that both real God Wu Bei and you were only real gods and had never once offended him. On top of that, both of you are inverse cultivators. Now, that's interesting, Emperor Bai muttered, and his voice was cold. Of course, with that alone, we can't be certain that Zisu is a spy. It is most likely he isn't as broad-minded as we thought he was, Abysmal Saint Master said. That's true, Jian Wushuang nodded. However, I have another reason that led me to suspect him. Abysmal Saint Master, do you remember Great Emperor Colored Glaze invited you and Great Emperor Zisu to join forces to come to Green Fire World? Of course I do. I thought we were going to win, for sure. We never thought that you would be so powerful and that you would have another mysterious expert who assisted you too, Abysmal Saint Master said. The mysterious expert is Lord Spirit Sound. We go way back. Jian Wushuang smiled. Back then, Lord Spirit Sound suppressed Great Emperor Zisu. However, after the battle ended, she told me that Great Emperor Zisu had intentionally held his power back. What? Abysmal Saint Master looked in shock. Zisu has been hiding his power. Emperor Bai creased his eyebrows too. Jian Wushuang's eyes contained a chilly gleam. After Lord Spirit Sound fought with Great Emperor Zisu, she had told him to be careful of Great Emperor Zisu because she could tell that Great Emperor Zisu wasn't as simple as he looked. One should know that the power that great Emperor Su had put on display had already gotten him the 5th place on Eternal Chaotic World's Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list. He was already so powerful when he held back his power. Just how strong would he be if he were to put his full power on display? It seems that great Emperor Su was really not as simple as we imagined him to be, Emperor Bai said in a low voice. Although he always saw great Emperor Su, he had never fought with him. Hence, he couldn't tell if he was hiding his power. However, Lord Spirit Sound was an expert from ancient times, and she was powerful. Plus, she had fought with great Emperor Su head-on. She definitely wouldn't come to that conclusion out of nowhere. With the 2 reasons and what Abysmal Saint Master said earlier, I believe that great Emperor Su is the biggest suspect. Jian Wushuang said. Of course, he had only said suspect. He couldn't be sure. After all, he didn't have any evidence. As long as we have a suspect, we can slowly investigate. When we return to Sanctuary Alliance, I will investigate it personally, Emperor Bai said. Jian Wushuang and the other 2 great emperors nodded heavily. Oh, yeah, one more thing. Jian Wushuang spoke again. Many years back, when I was still in the 6th step of inverse cultivation, I once went to Emperor Sword Sect when Lineage of Star was in a dangerous situation because of the news about Star Palace Master's passing. When I was on my way back, I came across a mysterious expert who tried to assassinate me. The mysterious expert was extremely strong. I believe he wasn't much weaker than Underworld God, who was in the 1st place among Emperor Gods. Plus, he had a move that exploded the fighting power of a great emperor. Back then, it was a great threat to me. Even now, I don't know who the mysterious expert was, nor do I know who sent him. However, one thing I am sure about is that he absolutely wasn't an expert from Acheron Palace, because Acheron Palace once attempted to assassinate me, and I knew their methods. If they wanted to assassinate me, they absolutely wouldn't only send him alone. They would plan meticulously. Emperor Bai heard and nodded faintly. The expert who tried to assassinate you, I will investigate him personally as well. Holocaust Sect and Acheron Palace have been in the dark, in Eternal Chaotic World for so many years. They finally took action, and they are definitely well prepared. Over the years, they shouldn't have only placed 1 or 2 of their men in Sanctuary Alliance. As the Dark Millstone stopped, we of Sanctuary Alliance don't have to be in a hurry to fight them. During this time as we prepare for war, let's find out everything. Emperor Bai's eyes were gleaming. He was obviously angry. Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiu Qiao saw and nodded faintly. Sanctuary Alliance and Eternal Chaotic World had been at peace for too long. In peace, there was definitely hidden decay. There were spies that the enemy had placed, and it was time to root them out. As the 4 of them chatted, they returned to the buildings in the surrounding dark. Not long after the 4 of them returned, the great emperors that Emperor Bai commanded to get Jian Wushuang from Bronze Heart region returned too. These great emperors had gone and taken a trip to Bronze Heart region. However, they didn't see Jian Wushuang, but had met some experts from 3 Emperors' World. Both parties had fought, but it led to neither victory nor defeat. Emperor Bai had sent them a message, and they'd left in time. On their way back, these great emperors were still confused, as they had yet to find out the cause and effect. However, there was one person who understood. The person was naturally Great Emperor Su. He looked rather at ease, but he was in distress. It seems that Emperor Bai has already realized that there is a spy among the higher-ups in Sanctuary Alliance, but I wonder if he will suspect me. Chapter 2055, 70% winning chance. 2055, 70% winning chance. After the great emperors returned to Sanctuary Alliance, they immediately received the news about Jian Wushuang's return. The great emperors were naturally surprised. Although some of them had noticed something fishy, they didn't say much. Then, Emperor Bai hosted a victory banquet at the surrounding of the Dark Millstone. The 4-member experts troupe that was sent into 3 Emperors' world had destroyed the Emperor's supreme rock, and the Dark Millstone had stopped spinning. It could be described as destroying the sword above the head of countless cultivators in eternal chaotic world. With such a great contribution, they, of course, deserved a celebration. The banquet was extremely grand, and some emperor gods participated too. During the banquet, many experts, including those great emperors, toasted Jian Wushuang. Even great Emperor Colored Glaze and Yenzun, who had once held grudges against Jian Wushuang, were sincerely celebrating with him. As for Abysmal Saint Master and Emperor Jiu Qiao, they contributed a lot too. They were well respected. After some drinking, Emperor Bai suddenly stood up and looked at all the great emperors and emperor gods. The biggest hero who stopped the Dark Millstone is Jian Wushuang. Secondly, it was great Emperor Ji Luo who passed away. Then, Abysmal and Jiu Qiao. Come, everyone, let's raise our glasses to the 4 of them. Everyone at the scene raised their glasses. Jian Wushuang stood up too. Then he said in a deep voice, "To great Emperor Ji Luo, to Sanctuary Alliance, to Eternal Chaotic World, to great Emperor Ji Luo, to Sanctuary Alliance, to Eternal Chaotic World." All the experts repeated the words and drank the wine in their hands. After they drank the last glass of wine, Emperor Bai said, "Although the Dark Millstone has stopped, Eternal Chaotic World's danger has never been removed. Holocaust Sect and Acheron Palace are still there, as well as the 3 Emperors' world with countless experts. As they have already exposed themselves, they will definitely fight Eternal Chaotic World until the very end. This war is inevitable. After today's banquet, everyone please get ready soon. The final war between Eternal Chaotic World and 3 Emperors' world will be here soon. Go ahead." Emperor Bai waved, and everyone at the banquet was dismissed. After the banquet ended, various sects and experts continued to prepare. However, as the Dark Millstone had stopped, the preparation wasn't as pressing as before. On the other hand, Emperor Bai started investigating the matter about the double agent in Sanctuary Alliance. The person that he focused on in his investigation was Great Emperor Zisu. Of course, his investigation was done in secret. Besides the few of them, no one else had any idea. 3 Emperors' world, in the boundless dark void, Lung Rushua, Demon King Chinyu, and the blurry blood man known as Kaiser Blood, the 3 of them gathered again. Years of hard work to prepare this Dark Millstone. All of us paid a great price and prepared for so many years. In the end, it was all destroyed in a day. Kaiser Blood's voice was cold with boundless anger. Demon King Chen, you was naturally furious too. That was normal. The Dark Millstone was what they had intentionally prepared to wipe out all experts in Eternal Chaotic World. It was absolutely their killer move. The moment they'd sent out their killer move, they could have made Eternal Chaotic World vanish without much effort. For that, they had paid too great of a price and put in too great of an effort. They'd taken years to prepare, just for that one day. In the end, because of Jian Wushuang, their preparation had been in vain. Of course, they could only blame themselves for belittling their enemy. At first, they'd thought that the Emperor's Supreme Rock was guarded by many great emperors in Imperial Peak, and it would be perfectly safe. In addition, the Emperor's Supreme Rock was sturdy itself. Without a certain level of power, it couldn't be cracked. Hence, they hadn't cared much about the 4 members experts troupe to begin with. But they'd never expected that Jian Wushuang's power as an inverse cultivator could be so outrageous. After Head performed the secret skill of Star Palace, Head exploded a power that had exceeded the power of a great emperor and destroyed the emperor's supreme rock. Hence, it had led to such an outcome. It's already happened. It's too late to regret it. I'd rather we first think about what we should do next. Long Rushui, who had been sitting the whole time, suddenly spoke. What to do? What can we do? Demon King Chen roared, and his eyes were simmering with anger, even without the dark millstone. With the forces of Acheron Palace, Holocaust Sect, and Three Emperors World combined, we can fight head-on with Eternal Chaotic World too. On top of that, Acheron Palace is already immersed in the forces in Eternal Chaotic World. Our chances of winning are at least over 70%. If so, what are we afraid of? Let's fight head-on. Long Rushui creased her eyebrows, then she looked to Kaiser Blood. Qinyu is right. Without the Dark Millstone, with the three of our forces combined, our winning chance is still extremely high. My only concern is that there will be more accidents, and we will have to bear greater losses, Kaiser Blood said. Humph, as long as we can destroy Eternal Chaotic World, we will achieve our final goal. So what if we suffer greater losses? Demon King Chen, you humphed coldly. That's true, Kaiser Blood nodded. If so, let's get ready immediately. My Three Emperors World has conserved strength and built energy for so many years, and they are so loyal to the Three Emperors. As soon as I send a command, the experts will immediately gather. On the other hand, the experts in Acheron Palace and Holocaust Sect, are they ready? Don't worry. The experts from my Acheron Palace are well prepared. Demon King Chen, you said. My Holocaust Sect is ready too, Long Rushui said. If so, tell them to rush over at their fastest possible speeds in order to form into a huge military force with the expert in Three Emperors World. Then, let's fight Eternal Chaotic World, Kaiser Blood said. All right, Demon King Chenyu and Long Rushui nodded heavily. Oh, yeah, Demon King Chenyu. Kaiser Blood suddenly turned to look at Demon King Chenyu. In Three Emperors World earlier, you fought with Emperor Bai. The corner of Demon King Chen, yes, lips twitched when he heard Emperor Bai's name, but he nodded. You look like Emperor Bai taught you a lesson. Huh? Kaiser Blood sneered. Humph, Emperor Bai lives up to his name as the strongest man in Eternal Chaotic World. He is much stronger than me. No wonder Lord Fun was defeated. That's normal. Demon King Chenyu humphed. Then he lifted his head and said, Kaiser Blood, don't be too happy. Judging from Emperor Bai's power, I'm afraid he is stronger than you too. If you were to run into him, it might not end well. Oh, I'll wait and see. Kaiser Blood smiled maliciously, and there was an eerie crimson light that surged in his empty eye sockets. The void went completely silent. Chapter 2056 Origins. 2056 Origins. After the banquet ended, Jian Wushuang naturally returned to Green Fire World. There were many experts in Green Fire World, including Jian Wushuang's family and friends. When they found out that Jian Wushuang had returned, they were naturally surprised. Although Jian Wushuang had only left for 30 years, they knew that Jian Wushuang had gone to an extremely dangerous place. Fortunately, Jian Wushuang had come back alive. After a simple gathering with his family and friends, Jian Wushuang began to cultivate again. He knew clearly what he wanted to do, which was to constantly increase his power. Then he could protect his hometown, his family, and his friends. In the blink of an eye, 20 years flew past. In the past 20 years, no matter if it was Eternal Chaotic World or Three Emperors World, they had been preparing for the upcoming war. No one from any party would start a war before full preparation was done. At least, neither party had fought for the past 20 years. In the secret room in Wushuang City, Jian Wushuang had sat quietly as he studied the sword principles. Suddenly, Virum! There was a fierce aura that suddenly soared up from within Wushuang City. The aura was accompanied by strong divine might. Jian Wushuang was immediately shaken. He plunged towards the source of the aura without hesitation. When he got there, he saw a destroyed pavilion and a figure slowly rising. The person looked at Jian Wushuang smilingly. "Father!" Jian Wushuang quickly greeted in excitement. The figure that soared up was his father, Jian Nantian. Then Jian Nantian wasn't giving out an aura of a chaotic real god, but of a surgod level, an almighty. His father had become an almighty. "Father, congratulations!" Jian Wushuang laughed. Had seen Jian Nantian break through, and he felt even happier than at seeing his own breakthrough, because he clearly knew what Jian Nantian's breakthrough represented. It meant that besides himself, the first almighty in Green Fire World had been born. Jian Nantian was the first among all cultivators in Green Fire World to step foot on the almighty level. With the first person becoming almighty, would the second and third almighties be far away? In no time, various forces and experts in Green Fire World rushed over. When they saw Jian Nantian break through, the experts congratulated him on his achievement. At the same time, they grew excited in anticipation. "Palace Master, congratulations!" Hall Master Yuan's consciousness embodiment came to congratulate him too. Jian Wushuang smiled, and then asked, "Hall Master Yuan, how is Lineage of Star doing? Has Universe Galaxy fully recovered?" Thanks to Palace Master, the spiritual influence of heaven and earth in Green Fire World is very pure, far purer than Purple Moon Sanctuary by dozens of times. With such intense spiritual influence of heaven and earth, Universe Galaxy is almost fully recovered. It will be much more powerful than before, too. Hall Master Yuan smiled. As for Lineage of Star, everything is in order. Plus, the environment in Green Fire World has benefited the disciples of Lineage of Star too. They have improved tremendously. Now, Lineage of Star not only continuously gives birth to real gods, even almighties. We have already given birth to 2 now. Oh, Jian Wushuang beamed with joy. Almighty! Back in Purple Moon Sanctuary, there were only 4 almighties in Lineage of Star, including Jian Wushuang. It was extremely difficult to even produce one. However, Lineage of Star had been at Green Fire World for less than 2,000 years, but there were already 2 almighties. The speed was naturally far beyond Purple Moon Sanctuary. Palace Master, your lineal disciple is cultivating in seclusion too. When he exits seclusion, I reckon he should become an almighty too. Hall Master Yuan smiled and added, Jian Wushuang was surprised. He had a total of 2 lineal disciples. He had first taken in Linlan. After all, he was from ancient worlds. He had limited talents. Although he had received many resources for nurturing due to Jian Wushuang, he would at most become a chaotic real god. It was almost impossible for him to break through and become an almighty. The other one was the extremely talented Hixio. He has extremely gifted himself. On top of that, Jian Wushuang had mentored him. He had already shown his spurs in Eternal Chaotic World long ago. Then, he had already reached the peak of chaotic real god. Next, he was naturally aiming for almighty level. It was within Jian Wushuang's expectations. Oh yeah, Hall Master Yuan, regarding what I told you to check, how was it? Jian Wushuang suddenly asked. I got it done long ago, and I am certain that the guy, Chen who you left in the commoner's world in Qingtian Mystery Land, had already passed away 6,000 years after you left Qingtian Mystery Land, Hall Master Yuan said. Passed away. Jian Wushuang creased his eyebrows, but he had been mentally prepared. Chen Jian Wushuang had met him when he was going through his 3rd inverse cultivation test. Then he had lost all his divine power and become a fragile old man, so he could only go for training in a commoner's world. He had gotten to know Chen Hu there, and they had been through a lot. Chen, who could be considered as half his disciple. Later on, he had passed his third inverse cultivation test, and he had regained his power. When Head left Xing Tian Mystery Land, Head left behind a test for Chen, who, as long as he could pass the test within a time limit, he would send someone to pick him and bring him to eternal chaotic world and take him on as his disciple. After tens of thousands of years, he didn't feel anyone taking the test that Head left behind. Then he realized that Chen Hu might have passed away. Actually, Chen Hu worked hard to improve, and he was very close to passing the test that you left there. However, 6,000 years after you left, Xing Tian Mystery Land went through a drastic change and stirred up a great war. Chen Hu, as the leader of one of the parties, although he fought with his all, was defeated and he passed away during the war, Hall Master Yuan reported. Jian Wushuang sighed, emotionally, but he could do nothing about it. One's fate was in one's hand. Just like himself, he had been through so many life and death dangers until had reached where he was. Green Fire World had also been through many obstacles and challenges until it could secure a standing in Eternal Chaotic World and hold such a position. If it didn't pass any threshold during the process, the ending would be entirely different. Now, he was facing a similar situation. Eternal Chaotic World and Three Emperors World were going to fight a life and death war. As one of the peak existences in Eternal Chaotic World, he would either lead Eternal Chaotic World and defeat the other party or be vanquished alongside Eternal Chaotic World and Green Fire World. Chapter 2057 Investigation, Resul. 2057 Investigation, Resul. Green Fire World has used the painstaking efforts of the ancestors and the lives of experts to finally be where it is today. I am not going to let it ruin in my hand. Eternal Chaotic World has to win this war. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands tightly, and his eyes were glaring. Just then, Jian Wushuang, hurry up and come to Thunderbolt Island. Emperor Bai sent him a message. Jian Wushuang was surprised. He handed down some tasks before he headed over to Thunderbolt Island. Thunderbolt Island was still the core cultivation place in Sanctuary Alliance, although there was Green Fire World. Only genius disciples from Eternal Chaotic World who got to be in Green Fire World. The experts above Real God level had never once entered Green Fire World. The lowest requirement to enter Thunderbolt Island was to be a void Real God. Hence, one equaled to a genius cultivation sanctuary, and the other one equaled to an opportunity land for experts to gather. Both places were different. Jian Wushuang got to on Thunderbolt Island through a space-time wormhole. Then, he went directly to Sanctuary Mountain. On his way there were naturally many real gods, or almighties who saw him. It's Sword Emperor. I heard that Sword Emperor performed extraordinary deeds for Sanctuary Alliance. He is now one of the higher-ups in Sanctuary Alliance. He is holding quite a high position. I heard that too. There is even a rumor saying Abysmal Saint Master and Great Emperor Colored Glaze's position and power are below Sword Emperors. Seriously? How long since Sword Emperor started cultivation? This is crazy. Many experts complimented in secret. Although it had only been 20 years since the war in Three Emperors World, Jian Wushuang had received his recognition in Sanctuary Alliance. Due to the position and power of these real gods and almighties, they didn't know much. However, among the higher-ups, the great emperors acknowledged that Jian Wushuang was only second to Emperor Bai. Sanctuary Mountain on a huge estate. There were 3 figures waiting patiently. Very soon, Jian Wushuang arrived in the estate. Mr. Emperor Bai, Abysmal, huh? Ancestor Tianchun is here too? Jian Wushuang was surprised as he looked at Ancestor Tianchun next to him. Jian Wushuang, Tianchun is absolutely trustworthy. It is impossible for him to be the enemy's spy. During this time, Tianchun and I have been investigating the spy in secret. Emperor Bai said. Jian Wushuang nodded faintly, not suspecting anything. Among the great emperors in Sanctuary Alliance, the most impossible person would be Ancestor Tianchun. Let's get into the business. Ancestor Tianchun spoke directly. Sword Emperor, Abysmal, we look to you today because there was a result from the investigation of Great Emperor Su. How is it? Jian Wushuang asked closely. We still can't be sure that Great Emperor Su is the spy. However, through some special tactics that Mr. Emperor Bai and I used to investigate him, we got some information. Both of you take a look. Ancestor Tianchun passed a token to Jian Wushuang and Abysmal Saint Master each. Jian Wushuang and Abysmal Saint Master looked through the tokens carefully. Their eyes dilated in shock as they went through the tokens. Seriously? Great Emperor Su killed so many people in secret, and all of them were top geniuses. Jian Wushuang lifted his face, and his eyes were filled with shock. In the token, there was a record of various methods with which Great Emperor Su had killed the top geniuses in Eternal Chaotic World. There was a total of over a dozen pieces of information. In other words, Great Emperor Su had killed over a dozen top geniuses, and all the top geniuses had stood a chance to become Peak Emperor God. 3 of them could even have turned into great emperors. But in the end, they were killed by Great Emperor Su in secret, and it was done very secretively. There was no sign pointed at him in the outside world. If it wasn't only because they already suspected Great Emperor Su to begin with, but also because Emperor Bai and Ancestor Tianchun used many unique ways to deal with the experts who worked for Great Emperor Su, they were afraid that there were more deaths that were related to Great Emperor Su. Lord Hatred, he was the one who killed Lord Hatred. Abysmal Saint Master creased his eyebrows. Lord Hatred was a top genius who could have swept over Eternal Chaotic World 2 million years ago. He was widely known as a supermonster then. He was extremely gifted. After a short cultivation period of over 100,000 years, he reached Sir God level, and he was powerful. It was said that when he first reached Sir God level, his comprehension of doctrine was on the 9th level of Doctrine Palace. In short, he was the standard of a great emperor. He was so powerful that he could easily defeat an emperor god at Sir God level. Back then, he had been extremely famous. It was merely a matter of time until he became a great emperor. He might even be on par with Red Dragon King and Abysmal Saint Master, or he might be stronger than them. However, such a super genius had suddenly passed away. Back then, the experts in Eternal Chaotic World said that Lord Hatred was assassinated by the experts from Acheron Palace. Hence, no one suspected anything. Until then, only they had found out that Lord Hatred died in the hands of Great Emperor Su. The geniuses who were removed by Great Emperor Su in secret, the weakest could likely have become a strong emperor god, while the more impressive top geniuses like Lord Hatred could totally become the strongest fighting power in Sanctuary Alliance. But in the end, before they could grow up, Great Emperor Su killed them in the dark. These geniuses shared no resentment of him. Plus, he had killed the geniuses secretly. No one in the outside world knew about it. Why does he want to kill these top geniuses? If the reason of him killing super geniuses like Lord Hatred was because he was worried they might threaten his position, those who weren't as impressive as Lord Hatred wouldn't be able to pose a threat to him. It was unnecessary for him to kill them. With everything mentioned, plus the fact that he hides his true power, Emperor Bai, and I think that the possibility of him being the spy is higher than 70%. Ancestor Tian, Chen said solemnly. Only 70%. Jian Wushuang creased his eyebrows. Although it is only 70%, and we are not entirely sure it is sufficient for us to take him head-on, Emperor Bai said, "Take him head-on?" Jian Wushuang was stunned. Previously, Emperor Bai and Ancestor Tian Chun had only been investigating Great Emperor Zi Su secretly. On the surface, they hadn't fallen out with Great Emperor Zi Su. To deal with him head-on, let's go. We shall make a trip to the estate Zi Su is staying in, Emperor Bai said. Jian Wushuang, Abysmal Saint Master, and Ancestor Tian Chun naturally followed. The estate that Great Emperor Zi Su was staying in was in a unique void, an eternal chaotic world. The estate was extremely huge, like a paradise. Jian Wushuang, Emperor Bai, Abysmal Saint Master, and Ancestor Tian Chen appeared in the void above the huge estate. Chapter 2058 Anger. 2058 Anger. In the void above, Emperor Bai's gaze was cold as he overlooked the huge estate. I intentionally made Zi Su leave earlier. Hence, besides his maidservants, his follower should also be in his estate. The follower is extremely important to Zi Su. She knows a lot about Zi Zu's affairs. The purpose of our visit is to look for her, Emperor Bai said, and he waved. There was a boundless divine power that instantly covered the entire estate and cut off the space-time between the estate and the outside world. Jian Wushuang's expression grew solemn. He also knew that it was common for a powerful expert to have a follower. For example, Great Emperor Purple Moon had a follower, Qian Mingzi. He had once lent a helping hand to Jian Wushuang. Let's head in, Emperor Bai commanded, and the four of them immediately plunged into the estate. In the huge estate that looked like a paradise, there was a boat drifting about on the river. On the boat, there was a beautiful lady in a purple robe. I wonder why Emperor Bai suddenly told Master to go over in a hurry. The beautiful lady in a purple robe muttered. Great Emperor Zi Su was originally on the boat too. However, he had suddenly received Emperor Bai's message and left. Just then, the lady in a purple robe suddenly lifted her head to look at the surrounding void. She could sense that the space-time around the estate was completely sealed off. Who is it? The lady in a purple robe shouted. Virum! The four figures appeared in front of the boat, and the four pairs of eyes looked at the beautiful lady in a purple robe. This is Emperor Bai. The beautiful lady in a purple robe's face changed. Didn't Emperor Bai ask Master to go over? Why is he suddenly here? And he has purposely sealed off the surrounding space-time. Could it be the beautiful lady in a purple robe thought of a possibility, and she was terrified at heart, but she remained composed. Greetings, Emperor Bai. Greetings, misters. I wonder how can I help all of you? I'd like to ask you something about Zi Su, Emperor Bai said, frankly. Mr. Emperor Bai, you must be kidding. Regarding things about my master, you should ask my master directly. I believe my master would definitely answer every question of yours. The beautiful lady in a purple robe answered with a smile. You're not willing to answer? Humph, just as expected. Emperor Bai smiled coldly. Then he took out a crimson pearl. The crimson pearl gave out a mysterious aura. The mysterious aura was soul power. Go. With Emperor Bai's will, the soul power in the crimson pearl instantly burst out. *T. The beautiful lady in a purple robe's face changed, and she wanted to resist. However, her power stood no chance to struggle before Emperor Bai. She could only watch as the soul power invaded her head. Her body quivered, and there was a flash of struggle in her eyes. But she instantly calmed down again. Mr. Emperor Bai, what is this? Jian Wushuang looked over suspiciously. This is a unique treasure I got from an ancient battlefield long ago. It contains soul power that could straightaway control someone for a short time for the person to obey your instructions. Of course, the treasure is only useful to experts below Great Emperor level. Plus, this person is merely Ziza's follower, and she wasn't soul-controlled by Zisu. Otherwise, the treasure wouldn't be effective on her. Emperor Bai smiled. Then, his gaze redirected to the beautiful lady in a purple robe again. Tell me, I want to know everything about Zisu. Yes, the beautiful lady in a purple robe nodded blankly. Then, she started telling him the ins and outs of the story. The beautiful lady in a purple robe, who was controlled by Emperor Bai, naturally handed over everything she knew on a silver platter. Emperor Bai, Jian Wushuang, Abysmal Saint Master, and Ancestor Tian, Chen listened carefully. In the beginning, they were calm and composed. However, as the story developed, the four of them looked to be in distress. In the end, the four of their faces grew grave. Great Emperor Su was really the spy that Acheron Palace had placed within Sanctuary Alliance. It was verified by the beautiful lady in a purple robe's speech. Over the years, Great Emperor Su had also killed some top geniuses secretly using various methods in Eternal Chaotic World. Actually, most of the assassination was carried out by Acheron Palace. However, there were times when it was inconvenient for Acheron Palace to take action due to some unique reasons. Then, Great Emperor Su would take care of it on its behalf. During the years when he was a higher-up in Sanctuary Alliance, the number of assassinated top geniuses was far beyond what Ancestor Tian Chen and Emperor Bai had found. However, the fact that Great Emperor Su was a spy and the issued geniuses that Great Emperor Su had assassinated over the years was not what pissed the four of them off. They were truly shocked and angry that the beautiful lady in a purple robe had brought up another force. Vientiane Tower, the #1 chamber of commerce that was widely acknowledged in Eternal Chaotic World. No matter if it was selling information, treasure, resources, or even offering assassination services, Vientiane Tower was known to be #1. And they were greatly related to Great Emperor Su. The reason why Great Emperor Su could kill so many top experts secretly without anyone in Eternal Chaotic World knowing and the higher-ups in Sanctuary Alliance never suspecting him was that Vientiane Tower was involved to remove all traces he left behind. There were even times when Great Emperor Su could have removed the geniuses successfully because Vientiane Tower catalyzed the process. Great Emperor Su and Vientiane Tower looked like they had no relations, but they were closely knitted. What did it mean? It meant that Vientiane Tower was also a force that Acheron Palace and Holocaust Sect had placed in Eternal Chaotic World. Vientiane Tower! Emperor Bai bellowed, and his voice reverberated through the surrounding universe. Jian Wushuang, Abysmal Saint Master, and Ancestor Tian Chen were angry too. Vientiane Tower, as the #1 chamber of commerce. Just how high was their position in Eternal Chaotic World? How powerful were they? If the widely acknowledged #1 force in Sanctuary Alliance was lineage of Star, the strongest force that didn't belong to Sanctuary Alliance in the human region over the years was no doubt Vientiane Tower. Vientiane Tower possessed power and a foundation that was sufficient for Divine King Island, Soaring Heaven King Palace, and other top forces to look up to it. How could such a great force be on the enemy's side? No wonder Vientiane Tower isn't willing to join Sanctuary Alliance. On the surface, they say that they don't want to get involved in the affairs. In actual fact, the information that they are trading stirs up great massacres and fights within Eternal Chaotic World. The Assassin Department has assassinated many experts and geniuses of Eternal Chaotic World over the years. Although they're not fighting, every single movement of theirs will stir up a bloody massacre in eternal chaotic world. Ancestor Chen's voice was cold, and it contained boundless murderous intention. Chapter 2059, Irrefutable Evidence. 2059 Irrefutable Evidence. Vientiane Tower was too great of a power in eternal chaotic world, and they were greatly involved. Although they didn't scramble for supremacy, every single one of their movements was enough to affect the entire eternal chaotic world. Just like back when Wu Bai's cave came into creation, all forces and geniuses fought over it. It was Vientiane Tower's work. For example, news about the Star Palace Master's death spread from Vientiane Tower too. Hence, it had stirred up the three alliances that rushed to lineage of Star. There were many fights and massacres that seemed to be instigated by Vientiane Tower. On the surface, Vientiane Tower looked like they did it for their own benefit. Then, it seemed like Vientiane Tower purposely sowed discord among the people, and the experts in eternal chaotic world killed each other. It had indirectly diminished the overall power of eternal chaotic world. Let me ask you, the mysterious expert that I met back when I returned from Emperor Sword Sect, was he sent by Zisu? Jian Wushuang asked in a low voice. Yes, the beautiful lady in purple robe nodded. Then, her figure turned illusory and her appearance and temperament immediately changed. The beautiful lady in the purple robe suddenly turned into a brawny elder in black with tan skin. Jian Wushuang recognized at first glance that the scrawny elder was the boatman in black who had wanted to kill him back then. As expected, Jian Wushuang's gaze turned cold. Temperament and appearance can be changed. This secret skill is extraordinary. Emperor Bai stared at the boatman in black in front of him. Then he waved, and the boatman in black vanished into thin air, without a chance to struggle. Then, Emperor Bai looked at Ancestor Chen. There is irrefutable evidence. Let's take action. Not only Zisu, but also Vientiane Tower. They must be uprooted. Mr. Emperor Bai, don't worry. Although Vientiane Tower has been careful in their actions, Sanctuary Alliance found out where their old lair is long ago. We should either stay put or well destroy it the moment we attack, Ancestor Chen said. That's great. Immediately gather all great emperors for discussion. On top of that, keep watch of Zisu. Emperor Bai commanded, and the four of them left. Sanctuary Alliance was in Presbytery Pavilion, where they usually held the highest meeting on Thunderbolt Island. Many great emperors arrived, either personally or in their consciousness embodiments, including Jian Wushuang. Sanctuary Alliance had 14 great emperors then, and there were 13 of them there. The only one who never came was naturally Great Emperor Zisu. The great emperors were confused as to why Emperor Bai would gather everyone to discuss. Could it be that Three Emperors' world was planning anything major again? Everyone is here. Let's begin. Emperor Bai beckoned to Ancestor Chen. Ancestor Chen stood up and looked around. Then he spoke in a bright and clear voice. Everyone, I believe that many of you noticed something fishy during the mission to Three Emperors' world. That's right, there is a double agent amongst the higher-ups in Sanctuary Alliance. The great emperor's eyes dilated in shock when they heard that, but most of them weren't surprised. Previously, when the four members' experts troops were in Three Emperors' world, there had been too many coincidences. On top of that, there was the incident at Bronze Heart region. There was no doubt that there was a spy amongst the higher-ups in Sanctuary Alliance. Everyone knew it, but no one spoke about it. Ancestor Chen paused and said, "After I investigated with Mr. Emperor Bai for the past 20 years, we are sure of the spy's identity. Everyone, please take a look." Ancestor Chen immediately took out all the evidence that he gathered, including the mirror image of when they had questioned the beautiful lady in purple at the estate, so that everyone could go through them. The great emperors looked through them, and his face grew grave. Zisu, Great Emperor Zisu, was the spy. It's him. Great Emperor Zisu is so laid back, and he doesn't concern himself about worldly affairs. Who would have expected him to be Acheron Palace's spy, and to have removed so many top geniuses in eternal chaotic world? The great emperors were angry. Although some of them were friends with Great Emperor Zisu, their friendship vanished when they found out Great Emperor Zizu's identity. It was replaced with billowing hatred. D*MN, my disciple, he was the one who killed him? There was an angry roar that reverberated in Presbytery Pavilion. Everyone looked at East Royal Emperor, who was raging with anger, but everyone was very understanding. The top genius back then, Lord Hatred, had been East Royal Disciple's lineal disciple, and he was his proudest disciple. However, he had died in the end. East Royal Disciple was in extreme grief. Now, having found out the true murder of his disciple, he was of course furious. Besides Zisu, there is Vientiane Tower. They are the enemy's spies. There is irrefutable evidence. Emperor Bei's gaze was cold as it swept over them. I gathered everyone here so that everyone can take action together and uproot Vientiane Tower in the shortest time together. The great emperors looked solemn and raging with murderous intention. Chen, go ahead and make arrangements. Destroy every single branch of Vientiane Tower within eternal chaotic world. Emperor Bai commanded. Yes, Ancestor Chen nodded heavily. Jian Wushuang, Red Dragon, Abysmal, East Royal. Emperor Bai called out the great emperor's names and said, "The few of you follow me to take a trip to the old lair of Vientiane Tower." Yes, Jian Wushuang and the other few great emperors accepted his command. All great emperors quickly took action. The huge robot in Sanctuary Alliance started running. In the 10 cultivation sanctuaries, the sanctuary masters commanded, and the sanctuaries started attacking the Vientiane Tower branch. On the other hand, Emperor Bai and the other few great emperors rushed to Vientiane Tower's old lair. Vientiane Tower's old lair was not located within the 10 cultivation sanctuaries, but in a remote, dark void that was further away from the 10 cultivation sanctuaries. When they arrived in the dark void, the Vientiane Tower's old lair was operating as usual. Then, Emperor Bai found irrefutable evidence and decided to take action against Vientiane Tower. He rushed to Vientiane Tower at the first moment, and even Vientiane Tower with the greatest intelligence agency couldn't respond in time. Plus, they had yet to find out that Sanctuary Alliance had already prepared to take action against them. Vientiane Tower, as the #1 chamber of commerce in eternal chaotic world, possesses an extraordinary foundation. In terms of almighties, they have more than 30 of them. In Vientiane Tower, there is also a great emperor. Emperor Bei's face looked cold. In eternal chaotic world, not including Jian Wushuang, there were 15 great emperors. 13 of them were in Sanctuary Alliance, while the other 2 weren't. But in the dark, there were many hidden experts. However, the experts hardly showed up. Hence, they were unknown. The hidden experts in Vientiane Tower should be quite numerous. Chapter 2060, Strike Like Thunder. 2060 Strike Like Thunder. The great emperor over the Vientiane Tower. I've dealt with him previously. The Red Dragon King said. His ability is considered average amongst the other great emperors, along with the fact that his self-defense mechanism isn't very strong. It won't take much to kill him. The only point to be wary of is his soul ignition. Leave this great emperor to me. Y'all take care of those almighties at the tower. Don't let a single one escape. Emperor Bai muttered. I, Jian Wushuang, and the rest nodded. The people began their work immediately. An abrupt, ear-shattering roar could be heard. The protective array over at the tower's lair could not withstand one blow from Emperor Bai, bursting immediately. The peace and tranquility within Vientiane Tower shattered along with it. Who was that? What's happening? One by one, figures appeared. Upon witnessing the broken array, the experts within the tower were both startled and angered. Right after that, they saw several figures entering through the broken array, pouring themselves in. These people gave off the scent of absolute horror. They were obviously super experts of the great emperor level. Whoosh! An old figure suddenly appeared at the void above the tower. This gray-clothed elder had to be the only great emperor level expect around. This is Emperor Bai. The elder gasped in horror upon seeing the white-haired, white-eyed man. Emperor Bai roared. After investigations conducted by the Sanctuary Alliance, the Vientiane Tower was placed within the eternal chaotic world by the villainous Acheron Palace. The evidence is clear. Today, Vientiane Tower falls. Death without mercy for all experts. Emperor Bai's fearsome roar rang and echoed all around the lair, leaving the experts within the tower pale with fright. They found out. The gray-clothed elder's eyes drooped. He had just thought of his next course of action, only to realize Emperor Bai was already in front of him. Die! Without further words, Emperor Bai made his move. His brutal punch swung out with a bang, destroying everything in its path before reaching the gray-clothed elder. That made the elder's hair stand on end. Having heard in the past how terrifying Emperor Bai was, he naturally gave everything he had to block him. Pong! A mellow roar. The elder's face turned white instantly as he coughed up blood. He had taken a bad hit, but to survive a punch from Emperor Bai was worth being proud of already, regardless of its strength. Arg! With a fearsome roar, the elder's boundless soul power was burning madly. With death inevitable, he would give everything he has with his soul ignition for one last battle. However, even though the soul ignition had massively improved his combat ability to a whole new level, against Emperor Bai the elder stood no chance to retaliate. It only took a couple hits for the elder to be neutralized by Emperor Bai. Before he died, the elder had only used 1/3 of his soul power. Even the strongest great emperor was annihilated by Emperor Bai's thunder-like strikes. The remaining experts left at the tower were taken aback upon witnessing it, as Jian Wushuang, Red Dragon King, Great Emperor Colored Glaze, and others barged into the tower amongst the experts. A massacre ensued, like wolves among sheep. The tower had its share of experts, but against these great emperors, there was no place for resistance. Within moments, half of the experts were destroyed. Mercy, have mercy, my fellow lords. We were not aware of the relationship between Acheron Palace and the tower, nor have we pledged allegiance to the palace. A cry for mercy surfaced. As one sounded off, the rest followed, all stating that they too were not aware of the relationship. Most of them really were not aware, and had seen themselves as members of the eternal chaotic world the entire time. Seeing this, Jian Wushuang and the others stopped the massacre and gazed upon Emperor Bai. But Emperor Bai was cold-hearted as one could ever be. Even if there were indeed innocent or ignorant people within the tower has its fair share of moles and spies from the palace. We of the Sanctuary Alliance are not able to distinguish them, nor do we have the time. Desperate times, desperate measures. I would rather kill all than let one mole escape. Die. Determination could be felt from Emperor Bai's voice. The gaze of Jian Wushuang and others turned ice cold. They agreed with Emperor Bai. The Sanctuary Alliance was busy preparing for battle against the Three Emperors' world. There was no way they had the time or effort to investigate and sort out who was innocent and who was not. To kill them all would be the simpler solution. Even if they had killed a few people by mistake. So be it. Die. Jian Wushuang and others started their massacre again, only this time with unseen resolve. No, the cries and screams of the experts were everywhere within the tower. Against the great emperor's death was the only way out. Soon after, the great lair within the tower had quietened down, leaving only corpses and pools of blood. So many experts within the tower, not just the almighties, but also the real gods, cleanly wiped out under Jian Wushuang's blade. After the job was done, they rendezvoused with Emperor Bai. As the lair falls, the remaining parts of the tower can easily be destroyed by the Sanctuary Alliance forces. The tower is finally gone. Abysmal Saint Master said, "This is just the surface of Vientiane Tower's power. As the top Merchants Association, the top intelligence agency, and the top killer association, the tower must have sent many experts to infiltrate our Sanctuary Alliance forces. These maggots, we will dig out as many as we can and exterminate them," Emperor Bai said coldly. Jian Wushuang and the rest nodded. "Now that the tower's lair is destroyed, leave the rest to Chen. Next, we need to handle Zisu." Emperor Bai pulled a long face. "Jian Wushuang, Red Dragon, you two follow me. Abysmal, East Royal, you'll all help Chen with eliminating the remaining Vientiane Tower forces." The great emperors responded in unison, taking off shortly after. Under Emperor Bai's lead, Jian Wushuang was once again brought to the enormous manor Great Emperor Zisu stayed in. Great Emperor Zisu, he didn't escape. Jian Wushuang stood at the void outside the manor, puzzled. This is the eternal chaotic world. The Sanctuary Alliance calls the shots. I had Chen keep an eye on him way back ago. You think he could escape even if he wanted to? Emperor Bai sniggered. That makes sense. Jian Wushuang realized, in the realm of the Sanctuary Alliance, under close watch by Emperor Bai himself, even if Great Emperor Zisu wanted to run, he would not have known how. Chapter 2061, Great Emperor Zisu. 2061, Great Emperor Zisu. Jian Wushuang, your power has improved significantly while you were in the Three Emperors world. Aside from me, you are the strongest in the Sanctuary Alliance. I shall leave Zisu to you, said Emperor Bai. Sure, I am very keen to fight Great Emperor Zisu. Jian Wushuang pursed his lips as his eyes lit up with excitement. Follow him, Red Dragon King, Emperor Bai commanded. Yes, replied the Red Dragon King, as he rushed inside the manor together with Jian Wushuang. The manor looked like a heavenly paradise. On the inside, a lone boat drifted aimlessly in the river. Great Emperor Zisu sat on the boat, lazily, and was fishing in a laid-back manner. Whoosh, whoosh, Jian Wushuang and the Red Dragon King appeared in front of the lone boat. How can you, Great Emperor Zisu, still fish after all that happened? Great Emperor Zisu rolled his eyes as he looked at Jian Wushuang and smiled. What else do you want me to do? He replied. He guessed that the Sanctuary Alliance had found out that he was the spy the moment his follower had died, and would definitely kill him. Sadly, he knew that he could not escape even if he wanted to. Hence, he might as well sit there quietly and wait for the arrival of the experts from the Sanctuary Alliance. Why is it only two of you? Where is Emperor Bai? Great Emperor Zisu asked indifferently. You do not deserve the personally attention of Emperor Bai. He sent us to deal with you. He has no time, Jian Wushuang said coldly. Is that the case? Do you really think that the two of you can kill me? Great Emperor Zisu scoffed. How will we know if we don't try? Jian Wushuang replied abruptly. Boom! A wave of monstrous divine might radiated from Jian Wushuang and spread out in all directions. The surrounding river waters exploded and instantly rose to heights so great that the silt beneath the river water could be seen. The boat under the feet of great Emperor Su exploded to pieces instantly. Jian Wushuang attacked. Phew, 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 phew. 5 beams of sparkling golden light lit up and burst forth at high speed. These 5 beams of light originated from the Hongjun golden sword that Jian Wushuang wielded. There were only 5 swords, and Jian Wushuang's understanding of the power of space-time was limited to a peak of 8 stories in Doctrine Palace. Despite this, the power generated was greatly different from before, as the Hongjun golden sword that Jian Wushuang had used employed the power of space-time. Jian Wushuang, who was on the 2nd stage, had divine power far greater than that of a normal great emperor. Each of the Hongjun golden sword would force any great emperor to go all out, much less when 5 of these swords were used together. As the great Emperor Su saw the 5 beams of light strike towards him, he smiled indifferently as he drew a purple spear that radiated death. Even though each stab of the spear looked casual, the speed of the stabs were incredible. Clang, 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 clang. The 5 Hongjun golden sword was deflected and flew back. Just then, Jian Wushuang dashed up to great Emperor Su and slashed out using his blood mountain sword. Sword slashes that radiated death burst forth. At the edge of the sword, a faded drop of blood was condensing. Sword Principal Xian Luo, extreme blood style. Humph. Great Emperor Su snorted lightly. His body seemed to turn into nothing as he thrust his spear out lightly. Clang. The collision produced a strong shock wave that would push them back. A hint of ferocity flashed across his eyes as Jian Wushuang changed his sword momentum instantly. Beams of gloomy sword light formed a special arc in the void. Sword Principal Xian Luo turned monstrous with one thought. Scram! The aura of great Emperor Su skyrocketed as his purple spear radiated an aura of great power. In an instant, it turned into a bolt of purple lighting and struck out. The power was so terrifying that it forced Jian Wushuang to take a step back. Oh, Jian Wushuang balanced himself. He looked at great Emperor Su in disbelief and said, "Looks like Lord Spirit Sound was right. You concealed your true power, and to such a great extent." Jian Wushuang was well aware that even though he had not gone all out with his swordsmanship in the last attack, he had used about 70% of his divine power. Even if it was just 70%, the power was far greater than that of most great emperors. Great Emperor Su not only deflected his attack with ease, he also had the ability to force him back. His power was far greater than even that of the abysmal Saint Master. Jian Wushuang had gauged that great Emperor Su was not weaker than the brutish bald man Ling Zong, whom had met in 3 Emperors' World. Humph! Do you really think that the Red Dragon King deserved to be ranked 2nd on the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list? I was just too afraid that people would grow suspicious of me having power that is too strong. On Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list, Great Emperor Su was ranked 5th on the list for great emperors. Higher up in the list included people like Emperor Bai, Red Dragon King, Abysmal Saint Master, and Ancestor Tianchun. In reality, only Emperor Bai posed a threat to him. The other 3 were not strong enough for him to care. I want to know how strong you really are. Jian Wushuang's eyes lit up as his sword essence rose. His divine power erupted as he attacked Great Emperor Su. Jian Wushuang battled Great Emperor Su fiercely. He continued to put crazy amounts of pressure on Great Emperor Su by fully utilizing his swordsmanship. Furthermore, he had the aid of the 5 Hongjun golden swords. Great Emperor Su had a layer of purple, shiny purple crystals around himself and looked as though he was a ghost. His fighting power was also astonishing. He was only at a slight disadvantage, even though he was taking Jian Wushuang head-on. It's important to note that in the Three Emperors world, Jian Wushuang could take on 13 great emperors at once. The power of Zisu is stronger than what I imagined. He is slightly stronger than Lingzong, Jian Wushuang thought. Jian Wushuang could completely dominate Lingzong in a head-on battle. However, against Great Emperor Zisu, he only had a slight advantage. Ha! Since you could destroy the Supreme Emperor's stone and walk out of Three Emperors' world alive, your fighting power is much more powerful than before. Many of the great emperors in the Sanctuary Alliance believe that your fighting power is the closest to Emperor Bei's. It seems like this is indeed true. It's a pity that even though your fighting power is strong, it is only slightly above mine. You can barely oppress me, so don't even think of killing me. Great Emperor Zisu laughed hysterically. Jian Wushuang's face darkened. However, the Red Dragon King, who was not involved in the fight, moved. An overbearing aura, which was mixed with an unbelievable amount of bloodline power, erupted. This aura was so strong that even Jian Wushuang looked over. Chapter 2062 Slain. 2062 Slain. Red Dragon. Jian Wushuang watched the Red Dragon King in astonishment. He could feel the aura around the Red Dragon King, especially that unique bloodline power. Even Jian Wushuang himself dared not underestimate it. Wasn't the Red Dragon King's power on par with the Abysmal Saint Master's? But now it was obvious to Jian Wushuang. The Red Dragon King had surpassed the Abysmal Saint Master, had gone above and beyond. From the looks of it, am not the only great emperor that hid their true power in the Sanctuary Alliance, Great Emperor Zisu let out a hearty laugh. HNGH, I only achieved a breakthrough not too long ago, and I did not get a chance to demonstrate my power, so no one knew. But you're different. You had so much power from the very beginning, but intentionally kept it hidden from us. You thought it through. The Red Dragon King's irises constricted. With an aura of death radiating around him, even his movements became forceful. Sword Emperor, together, let's take him down. Jian Wushuang nodded. With all the strength they had, they made their move. Jian Wushuang alone could not have fully suppressed Great Emperor Zisu, but collaborating with the Red Dragon King. The Red Dragon King demonstrated astonishing skills, especially with the ancient Dragon Clan bloodline he possessed, making his power extremely formidable. In terms of battle skills, he was only slightly weaker than Jian Wushuang, but more than enough to battle Great Emperor Zisu. With both of them joining forces, Great Emperor Zisu naturally could not resist further, and was eventually suppressed. Whether it was Jian Wushuang or the Red Dragon King, both their bloodline powers and divine powers were much more vigorous and copious than Great Emperor Zisus. If the battle went on any further, Great Emperor Zisu would most certainly die. To hell with the both of you. A formidable roar let out as Great Emperor Zisu finally began his frenzy. His soul power burnt rapidly. Soul ignition? Jian Wushuang's face darkened. He knew clearly how terrifying a great emperor who used soul ignition could become. Great Emperor Ji Luo had used soul ignition and the secret skills of Star Palace to fend off the many great emperors from the Three Emperors world, gaining precious time for Jian Wushuang back then. But Great Emperor Zisu was so much more powerful than Ji Luo. Boom! Frenzied Great Emperor Zisu, having used soul ignition, appeared in front of Red Dragon King almost immediately. Red Dragon, watch out! Jian Wushuang tried to warn him. A merciless spear pierced through heaven and earth, causing the void to explode to form a space-time storm. This storm ravaged the entire manor. Once heaven on earth, the manor was now no more than rubble. Against such a powerful spear, The Red Dragon King gave everything to resist, but it was not enough. With a loud thud, the Red Dragon King was thrown back, his body trembling after such a tremor. He was left largely unhurt. Thankfully, Jian Wushuang's gaze was sharp-eyed like a razor. Power from within his body was emerging as more heads and limbs popped out from him. "Bring it on, Zisu!" Jian Wushuang let out a roar. Within a few moves, he was in front of Great Emperor Zisu, his swordsmanship mercilessly used to cut Zisu down. Under normal circumstances, Great Emperor Zizu's death was already inevitable, having used soul ignition. There was no need to go hard on Zisu, simply avoid his blows and wait for the soul ignition to end. But Jian Wushuang, he had no fear. Against the frenzied Great Emperor Zisu, he insisted on going hard, as an unbridled battle pursued. Earth-shattering roars echoed through the air, as if the sky was on the brink of collapse. The battle ensued for several breaths of time. Finally, Great Emperor Zizu's aura diminished, the light from his eyes dimmed, and soon he could not be heard. The spy of the Acheron Palace, 5th in the Heaven and Earth Supreme ranking list, had fallen. Is he finally dead? Jian Wushuang was still standing in the void as he watched Great Emperor Zizu's lifeless body fall from the sky, displaying no expression of any sort. His aura remained strong. You must know, even during his encounter with Demon King Chenyu in the Three Emperors world, he managed to stay energized throughout the entire battle thanks to his strong power from within himself. Great Emperor Su could use soul ignition to gain that temporary burst of energy all he wanted, but compared to Demon King Chenyu, it was barely enough. Jian Wushuang had only fought him for several breaths of time, and naturally Wushuang emerged unscathed. Whiz! Red Dragon King appeared beside Jian Wushuang. As he gazed upon Great Emperor Zizu's corpse, Red Dragon King could not help but gasp in admiration. Sword Emperor, what a marvelous feat! The ancient Dragon Clan bloodline, my strength and self-defense mechanisms have made me extremely powerful. But even I, faced against the frenzied Great Emperor Zisu, having ignited his own soul, could not do much but retreat. But you faced him head-on, and emerged without a scratch. I guess what Zisu said was right. Amongst the great emperors in the Sanctuary Alliance, your power is the closest to Emperor Bai's. Second in rank amongst the Heaven and Earth Supremes. Definitely goes to you. Having heard this, Jian Wushuang could not help but laugh. He was not interested in rankings after all. Wang, a figure precipitated. Emperor Bai had arrived too. Emperor Bai, Jian Wushuang, and Red Dragon King immediately turned around. Emperor Bai glanced upon Jian Wushuang, a trace of a smile playing across his lips. Not bad, Wushuang. Such fighting power at the second stage, so much stronger than me when I first began. Emperor Bai had nothing but praise for Jian Wushuang. The reason why he had sent Jian Wushuang and Red Dragon King to take down Great Emperor Su was also because he wanted to witness Jian Wushuang's capabilities. And Jian Wushuang had indeed proved himself. It's only a shame you're lacking in Tao realization for you to ascend to Doctrine Palace's 9th level, which is the standard for all great emperors. Otherwise, you would have been the top amongst the second stage great emperors. Emperor Bai heaved a sigh. Second stage great emperors. Jian Wushuang was puzzled. What do you mean by that, Emperor Bai? You mean there are levels and ranks even amongst great emperors? You didn't know? Emperor Bai looked at Jian Wushuang astonished, nodding soon after. Makes sense anyway. You've improved so quickly, and you've only reached Great Emperor so recently, it's only natural you lack this area of knowledge. Let me explain it to you. Jian Wushuang fixed his attention on him, listening closely. Wushuang, you've encountered many great emperors in the Three Emperors world. Amongst them were extremely powerful ones, power even comparable to Demon King Chen level. You can tell. Even though they are all great emperors, in terms of ability, the disparity is clear, right? Emperor Bai smiled. Chapter 2063 Stage Division. 2063 Stage Division. Jian Wushuang nodded immediately. He was curious and wanted to know more. Between great emperors, there could be a great difference in power level. In the Sanctuary Alliance, except for Emperor Bai, the difference in power level between most great emperors was small. However, Jian Wushuang met Ling Zong and the massive middle-aged man in Three Emperors' world. Both had power far greater than any of the great emperors. Great emperors, such as Abysmal Saint Master, who might have been the strongest in the Sanctuary Alliance, were still much weaker than people like Ling Zong, Jian Wushuang, Red Dragon King, and Great Emperor Zisu, who was just killed, were already much stronger than people like Abysmal Saint Master, much less superpowers the Demon King Qinyu and Emperor Bai. However, Demon King Qinyu and Emperor Bai were still at the level of Great Emperor no matter how strong they were. In today's eternal chaotic world, there is no division between the different levels of Great Emperor, as there are too few Great Emperors in the Second Era. I estimate there to be around 20 or so in this world. I came from the First Era, which was much more powerful than the Second. Emperor Bai smiled. In the First Era, the number of people who were at the Great Emperor level ranged from the hundreds to even thousands. The difference in power was obvious due to the sheer number of great emperors that were around. Hence, the superpowers in the First Era split the Great Emperor level into 3 stages. The stage where most people are is Stage 1, which all the ordinary Great Emperors from back then fall under. Their understanding of Tao has reached the 9th level in the Doctrine Palace. Aside from me, Red Dragon King, and you, the rest of the Great Emperors fall into Stage 1 of Great Emperors. People such as Master of Abysmal Palace and Ancestor Tianchen are the strongest among them. The first stage of Great Emperor was the most commonly seen in the First Era. More than 90% of the Great Emperors fall into this stage. On the other hand, Great Emperors from the second stage were all exceptional. Jian Wushuang looked at Emperor Bai attentively. Great emperors from this stage had a better understanding of Tao, and their divine power were far greater than those in the first. Most importantly, these emperors mastered secret skills of terrifying power or possessed unique bloodline power, which enabled them to have fighting power far greater than those in Stage 1. For example, the Red Dragon King has the bloodline power of an ancient dragon clan. That is the reason he is a Stage 2 Great Emperor. Emperor Bai said, "I was lucky to inherit the bloodline power on the ancient battlefield. My fighting power skyrocketed once this bloodline power awakened not too long ago." Red Dragon King smiled. Jian Wushuang finally understand the division between the stages in the Great Emperor. There were few Great Emperors who had been in that stage back in the First Era. All of them were overlords in the First Era, and every single one was a ruler of a certain empire, especially those who were the most powerful in Stage 2. Even though Great Emperors classified as Stage 2 were monsters, it was those who were classified as Stage 3 that were at the top of this food chain. The leap between Stage 2 and Stage 3 is where the true abilities of the Great Emperors are tested. From what I know, there were only so many Stage 1 Great Emperors back in the First Era. Even during the Prime period, the number of Stage 1 Great Emperors was no more than 30. The best among them were Ancient God Emperor and Sword Emperor Dugu, who also happened to be the most famous. The reason for the huge difference in power level between Stage 2 and Stage 3 Great Emperors was not only due to the secret skills they mastered, but also because these Stage 1 Emperors managed to understand a little of the rules of order. Rules of order? Jian Wushuang widened his eyes as his heart skipped a beat. Judging by your reaction, I assume that you have heard of this? Emperor Bai said as he looked at Jian Wushuang in disbelief. Yes, I did. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. He remembered the opportunity he had received in the stand-alone space within Eighth Lair. There, he had met an ancient expert who was in slumber, as well as a dragon turtle, Long Qi. Back then, Long Qi had asked him to meditate with the seven-star picture. In ancient times, the seven-star picture had been used by disciples of the seven-star Black sect to mediate in order to understand the rules of order. Jian Wushuang had learnt of the rules of order in this world. Back then, these powers had been too complex for him to comprehend, so he had not asked for any explanation. Now, he was hearing of rules of order again. Rule or order is the absolute power that the Heaven Way harnesses to run itself. It represents the law of the universe. The Tao that we are meditating to now, such as Nine Heaven God doctrine and Supreme Four doctrine, will eventually evolve into rules of order. Once this power is mastered, there will be a leap in the quality of your power. This increase in quality will be much better compared to when the power of Heaven Way was initially mastered by the first universe God. This is exactly why the Stage 3 great emperors who manage to grasp even a little of rules of order will have fighting power far greater than those great emperors from State 2. Demon King Chen Yu, who you met in Three Emperors World, is a Stage 3 great emperor. Emperor Bai said. Jian Wushuang was shocked. Demon King Chen Yu? He had fought the Demon King Chen Yu head-on before. His power level was far from that of the Demon King. He could see how strong the Demon King Chen Yu was from how Jian Wushuang could barely keep the Demon King occupied, even with the aid of a self-defense mechanism and the unique constitution that inverse cultivation gave him. He simply ran for his life and did not dare to fight the Demon King head-on. Demon King Chen Yu has managed to grasp a little of the rules of order. His secret skills are not very outstanding. He has just barely made the cut as a Stage 3 great emperor. Hence his fighting power is not that insane. However, Lord Fun, who rules the Holocaust sect, is even stronger. He has the true power of a Stage 3 emperor. Jian Wushuang finally understood the stage division among the great emperors. Jian Wushuang muttered to himself, "Great emperors are divided into 3 stages. Those in the first stage are ordinary and the weakest of them all. On the other hand, those in Stage 3 grasp a little of the rules of order and are very powerful. As for me, I am probably an ordinary Stage 2 emperor. My power is still far from that of a Stage 3. In fact, these 3 stages were only a division set back in the first era. After these stages, there should still be a stage for Emperor Bai set out of nowhere. Chapter 2064, the 4th stage. 2064, the 4th stage. A 4th stage. Jian Wushuang's were wide open. The 3rd stage great emperors were terrifying enough, having grasped even a bit of rules of order. The elite ancient god emperor and sword emperor Dugu of the first era were considered the pinnacle of 3rd stage great emperors. Now, there was a 4th stage. A 4th stage did not exist during the first era. I added it at the last moment. Emperor Bai smiled. Oh, really? Jian Wushuang was surprised. Wushuang, you must understand, the 2nd era we live in now, even though there's a vast difference in cultivating environments compared to in the first, one point remains the same. The cultivators of both eras were constricted by the boundaries of this universe. This constriction targets the strongest. Emperor Bai continued. The elite ancient god emperor and sword emperor Dugu of the first era had most certainly surpassed great emperor levels into something much more. But why do I still regard them as only great emperors? The constrictions the universe places upon us forces all cultivators to utilize no more strength than a great emperor can. Jian Wushuang was startled. He knew about a legend of the first era, an expert above all great emperors. Ancient God Emperor was a 10-star ancient god. According to ancient god clan divisions, 9 stars would make you a great emperor. 10 stars, therefore, naturally surpass great emperors, ascending beyond the chaotic realm. But now it seemed, even though he was technically stronger than great emperors, there was really not much difference. Experts stronger than great emperors in the first era remained great emperors due to the constrictions. But what about the ancient past? There were so many experts stronger than great emperors during that period of time. Imagine if those supreme beings were to awaken. What would happen? Jian Wushuang was once again taken aback. Experts from the ancient past. Emperor Bai, if these experts from the ancient past were to awaken, would they face the same constrictions the universe places? Jian Wushuang assaked. Of course, our universe is special this way. Everyone in this universe faces the same constrictions, even the experts from the ancient past. Meaning to say, no matter how powerful you were in the ancient past, even if you were one of the best, as long as you're under this universe, you can only be treated as a great emperor. However, these experts from the ancient past, even though they faced the same constrictions, the myriad of means and secret skills they possess, along with their realization of the rules of order, they remained with them. You can only imagine, even if they had great emperor-level powers, that explosive energy, how strong would that be? Forget the others for now. Let's talk about that ancient past expert who helped you before, Emperor 13. You can tell how powerful he was, right? Emperor Bai said solemnly. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang could not help but draw a cold breath. He understood what Emperor Bai meant. Under the constrictions of the universe, they could only use great emperor-level powers, but the ancient past experts, possessing realization of the rules of order and other secret skills. The first and second eras were not even comparable. The elite ancient god emperor and sword emperor Dugu of the first era had only just surpassed the great emperor level. In terms of fighting power, they were simply the pinnacle of the third stage. There were so many experts from the ancient past stronger than ancient god emperor and sword emperor Dugu. Even with the same level of strength constricted by the universe, the experts would certainly surpass them in their explosive fighting power. Emperor 13 belonged to the ranks of these formidable ancient past experts. Because of these ancient past experts, especially after my encounter with Emperor 13, came the thought of the fourth stage. Without a doubt, Emperor 13 is a fourth stage great emperor. Emperor Bai said. Jian Wushuang nodded solemnly, and from this gained a whole new perspective of Emperor Bai. The 3 stages of great emperors, if you consider the ancient past experts, would make it 4 stages. 4 stages, meaning 4 completely different levels of power. The disparities between each stage was ridiculously huge. The reason why there was not much difference between great emperors within the Sanctuary Alliance was because they were all first-stage great emperors. Even the best of the first-stage great emperors, the abysmal Saint Mster, would find it hard to take down Yen Zun, currently at the bottom of the first stage. But if a second-stage expert were to come in, things would be different. A third or fourth stage great emperor would take down a first-stage great emperor as if he was killing a chicken. Emperor Bai, may I know, amongst the 4 stages, at which stage do you reside? Jian Wushuang suddenly asked. Red Dragon King looked over. They were all curious. As the strongest in the eternal chaotic world, which stage did Emperor Bai belong to? Of course, Emperor Bai, having easily defeated Demon King Chen Yu of the 3rd stage, made him at least on par with the Demon King. Emperor Bai took a while to think it through before replying. My current fighting power places me slightly above Ancient God Emperor and Sword Emperor Dugu of the first era, but it is limited. When I first faced Emperor 13, I had no idea how nor the necessary confidence to engage him. So I guess him at the top of 3rd stage great emperors, or somewhere between the 3rd and 4th. But even though he'll lose to Emperor 13 and the other experts in terms of fighting power, if I were to fight them face to face, with the help of my inverse cultivation and other tricks, even groups of fourth stage great emperors would not scare me. Emperor Bai was ever so confident of himself, yet he had nothing in regards to his own limitations. Jian Wushuang and Red Dragon King, having heard this, glanced at each other, astonishment and delight written all over their faces. The astonishment came from the fact that Emperor Bai's power was much stronger than they expected it to be, whereas the delight naturally came from the fact that Emperor Bai was on their side of the battle and was basically a leader to them. The upcoming battle against the three emperors whirled with Emperor Bai made them much more confident. Jian Wushuang. Emperor Bai looked towards Jian Wushuang. I saw the battle you had against Great Emperor Zisu. Your ability now should be amongst the best within second stage Great Emperors, but not the best. You're still lacking in terms of Tao understanding. If you achieve a breakthrough from that, reaching Doctrine Palace's 9th level, you will emerge as the second stage's best. If you want to reach the 3rd stage, that's fairly simple as well. Continuing to master the final part of inverse cultivation's 7th step will suffice, or understand some rules of order. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang shrugged his shoulders. He had just reached the 2nd stage, barely even reaching Doctrine Palace's 9th level. For him to master the final part of inverse cultivation's 7th step, or to understand even a bit of the rules of order, would take ages. Come, let's go back. Without a word, the three of them made their way back to Thunderbolt Island. Chapter 2065, Fighting at the Ancient God Clan. 2065, Fighting at the Ancient God Clan. Jian Wushuang, Emperor Bai, and the rest attacked the base of Vientiane Tower, where they had killed Great Emperor Zisu. Within the eternal chaotic world, branches of Vientiane Tower that were located in different places among the tribes and sanctuaries received devastating blows. Even though Vientiane Tower had high social standing and power, it was nothing compared to Sanctuary Alliance. Sanctuary Alliance was the true ruler of the eternal chaotic world. If she wanted a certain force to disappear, no one could stop them. Within months, Vientiane Tower ceased to exist. All that was left were spies within different sects and clans. These cultivators were not strong enough to pose a threat. Furthermore, Sanctuary Alliance had gotten a list of most of these spies when they destroyed Vientiane Tower. These cultivators would also face certain death. The large dark millstone stood tall in the dark void. However, it stopped spinning deep in the three emperors' world, in the endless void. Idiot! This Zisu is an idiot. I have already reminded him to be extra careful, as Emperor Bai knew that there was a spy in Sanctuary Alliance. What happened in the end? He exposed himself. To make matters worse, he even exposed Vientiane Tower. Acheron Palace spent so much time and effort on building a Vientiane Tower, and all our efforts went to waste because of this idiot. Demon King Chinya's face was dark, and he roared in anger. His aura turned extremely violent. This time around, Acheron Palace had lost too much. They had lost both Great Emperor Zisu and Vientiane Tower. Even though Acheron Palace had used large amount of resources to nurture Great Emperor Zisu and to get him to be one of the higher-ups of Sanctuary Alliance, this loss was still acceptable. During the final battle against the eternal chaotic world, his powers as a great emperor had been limited. However, Vientiane Tower was different. It was the #1 information department, given that it was the #1 enterprise within the world, and the influence they had was great. During the war, it could pass messages, cause internal fighting among the eternal chaotic world, or change the tide of the war. There would be enormous benefits that could be reaped. Vientiane Tower was much more important to Acheron Palace than Great Emperor Zisu. Now, however, Vientiane Tower was destroyed with nothing left to salvage. All the effort that Acheron Palace had spent over the years had gone to waste. How could the demon King Chen, you be not angry when he was the leader? Lung, Rushue, and Kaiser Blood, who were on the other two thrones in the void, were in a bad mood. Acheron Palace planned to insert different people into the eternal chaotic world, so that they could be of help during the final battle. Now, this plan has been foiled by Sanctuary Alliance. Our chances of winning during the final battle has dropped from 70% to 60%. Lung Rushue said, 60%. Even though there was an advantage, this advantage was no longer distinct. This happened all because of that idiot Zisu. Demon King Chen, you roared in anger. Now that Zisu is dead, it's pointless trying to blame him. We should be doing our best to prepare for the battle by concentrating our forces properly. Furthermore, we should speed up our plans for the special tribe. Chen Yu, the responsibility of the plans belongs to Acheron Palace. You have to pay close attention. Do not make any errors. Do not worry. The special tribe is different from humans. It is easier to deal with them. Furthermore, Acheron Palace is well prepared, and we will not allow for any more accidents. We can settle things there within a century. Demon King Chen, you said confidently. Do not be overconfident. Lung Rushue glanced over at Demon King Chen Yu. The matters there are of utmost importance. If any more accidents happen, we will have no more advantage. Hence, I have sent some of my people over. Yes, with the help of Holocaust sect, we can be more assured. Kaiser Blood said, as he nodded his head in approval. Demon King Chen Yu's face turned a shade darker, but he did not argue. Oh, I have some good news for you both. Lung Rushue said, Kaiser Blood and Demon King Chen, you looked over. 3 days ago, Lord Fun transmitted a message to me. He said that not only has his injury healed fully, but he's also managed to improve his fighting power. Oh, Kaiser Blood laughed. That's great. Now with Lord Fun, our fighting power at the highest level will once again improve. Now our chances of winning are better. However, Demon King Chen, you squinted his eyes slightly and looked like he was happy. He muttered quietly to himself. Lord Fun became stronger once again. He had an edge over me before his injury. Now that he has become stronger, won't he be able to overpower me? Kaiser Blood is also stronger than me. I am currently the weakest. Damn it, Demon King Chen, you said nothing more even though he was angry deep down inside. Sanctuary Alliance, Thunderbolt Island. Emperor Bai, are you looking for me? What happened? Jian Wushuang received the message from Emperor Bai and rushed over. Now that Vientiane Tower is destroyed, the powers that Acheron Palace inserted in Eternal Chaotic World are gone. Our next step is for Sanctuary Alliance to rally the various forces in Eternal Chaotic World and concentrate all the experts. Then we will have the final battle against the Three Emperors World, Holocaust Sect, and Acheron Palace that resides in the Dark Millstone, he said to Jian Wushuang. It is easy to gather the experts in Eternal Chaotic World. With the possible repercussions, there could be 99% of the experts will gather here. However, we might encounter some problems with the special tribes. I need you to go down personally. Emperor Bai said, Special tribe. Jian Wushuang's heart skipped a beat. In the Eternal Chaotic World, there was segregation between human tribe and special tribe. Usually, these two tribes would not interact with each other. However, when the survival of Eternal Chaotic World was at stake, the two tribes would cooperate and work with each other. What will happen with the special tribe? Jian Wushuang said as he frowned. I do not have the exact details, but there are troubles between the 4 biggest tribes, especially Ancient God Clan. From what Sanctuary Alliance told me, it seems like the Ancient God Clan is having a civil war right now. Emperor Bai said, What? Jian Wushuang turned pale. Among the different special tribes, he had a deep connection with the ancient god clan. His bloodline of ancient clan, was closely related to the ancient god clan. But now, the ancient god clan was having a civil war. Chapter 2060, 6 The Godly Spirit's Metamorphosis. 2060, 6 The Godly Spirit's Metamorphosis. Jian Wushuang, I know you have a special relationship with the ancient god clan. Even the 9-star ancient god King Luo Yu from the clan said they wanted to make you their new ancient god as part of their clan. The brawl amongst the ancient god clan seems to relate you quite a bit. So, Emperor Bai looked at Jian Wushuang. Since the issue is related to you, you should step out and settle it. Understood. You'll move out now, Jian Wushuang replied. Okay, if you get yourself into any trouble within that special tribe, inform me. Of course, with your current abilities, most issues shouldn't get in your way, Emperor Bai said. Jian Wushuang gave a faint smile before taking off. After leaving Thunderbolt Island, Jian Wushuang was not in a hurry to visit the ancient god's sanctuary, and instead he went back to the Green Fire world. Even though this visit to the special tribe would not take long, the eternal chaotic world was under ordinary circumstances. Jian Wushuang found Hall Master Yuan and Jian Nantian and left them a few words. Then Jian Wushuang came to an enormous sea of fog. This was Star Foggy Sea, king of venomous worms. Jian Wushuang's voice resonated across the entire Star Foggy Sea. Soon, the green-robed elder, the king of venomous worms, had morphed into appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. Master, the king was ever so respectful. Since the king had leached onto Jian Wushuang's body, it was always Jian Wushuang, not Master. Today was different. The Jian Wushuang of today was without a doubt one of the strongest amongst the great emperors, the best the eternal chaotic world had, and definitely stronger than his previous master, King Luotian. With that amount of prestige and power, even the king of venomous worms had to show Jian Wushuang some respect. Naturally, he called him Master. You're living quite comfortably from the looks of it. Jian Wushuang looked at the king curiously. Jian Wushuang had just arrived to witness the king poking fun at one of the fellows in the Foggy Sea. Oh, how happy he looked. This is all thanks to you, Master, the king mocked. And indeed so. As a plenilune, he had previously needed to leech off of an ancient god to survive. But the bloodline of Jian Wushuang was so much purer than the ancient gods, the king only needed to leech for a short period of time, extract some ancient god blood essence, and he would live for 10,000 years or even 100,000 years by himself. With the blood essence, he could morph into a human, moving freely amongst many cultivators, with no need to stay within Jian Wushuang's body. Of course, he was more comfortable than before. I'm here for you because I need to visit the ancient god's sanctuary. Will you follow? Jian Wushuang asked. The ancient god's sanctuary? Since you, Master, have asked, I will follow. The king agreed without hesitation. Let's go then. Jian Wushuang waved his hand. The king immediately morphed into a mini worm and made his way into Jian Wushuang's body. After the king, Jian Wushuang went to find Jian Yi. Jian Yi, your current skills, have they been restored to what they once were? Jian Wushuang watched Jian Yi. He could feel that subtle aura of power around Jian Yi. That aura surpassed the abysmal Saint Master, probably comparable to the second stage great emperors like Great Emperor Zisu and Red Dragon King. Almost there, but soon. A century should be enough for me to fully restore my power, Jian Yi replied. Jian Wushuang could not help but be astonished. Jian Yi now already possessed the fighting power of a second-stage great emperor, more or less, but he hadn't reached his true potential yet. When he fully restored his power, how powerful then would he be? Jian Yi, we have split the great emperors of the peak chaotic realm into 4 stages. What stage do you think you'll be once you've fully restored your power? Jian Wushuang gave a brief explanation on how the stage divisions worked. Jian Yi thought through it for a while and replied, "At my peak, I should be at the top of the second stage, or at least near the top." "Only the top of the second stage," Jian Wushuang sighed. "Not confident to compare yourself with the third stage great emperors?" "Master, don't tease me. I only follow what you have taught me. Third stage great emperors have all a bit of rules of order." "Rules of order? What a noble power that is." Even during the ancient past, when chaotic realms were plentiful, those who could really understand a bit of rules of order were no more than a handful. If I was capable of that, I would have joined some influential organizations and become one of their elite disciples, not been some nobody who's only good in intelligence. Jian Yi sighed. Oh, that made sense to Jian Wushuang. He too knew that the rules of order were not easy to understand. "Okay, you continue to build up your strength here in the green fire world. They'll be gone for a while. The responsibility of keeping this place safe now lies with you," Jian Wushuang said. "Aye." Jian Yi nodded solemnly and left. After Jian Yi left, Jian Wushuang's expression changed abruptly. "Is it finally working?" A tinge of delight could be seen on Jian Wushuang's face, as with a flip of his hand, he took out a bronze mirror that emitted a unique smell. This bronze mirror was the five-fire godly spirit mirror. The five-fire godly spirit mirror was a treasure from the ancient past, obtained after Jian Wushuang had slain Emperor God Xia Xian, back when the green fire world was in crisis, and Great Emperor Colored Glaze along with others had charged in. This mirror had provided Jian Wushuang with quite a bit of assistance. The mirror was nurtured with divine power. The stronger the divine power, the better the mirror worked. Back when Jian Wushuang had yet to master the inverse cultivation's seventh step, the mirror had been nurtured with divine power, allowing the five great godly spirits to all emit peak emperor god powers, joining hands to form a godly spirit array, enough to fight against a great emperor. But ever since he had mastered the seventh step, there was an evolution in his divine powers. The five great godly spirits had also started to metamorphosize. This period of metamorphosis was long, from then all the way to now. Finally, it had ended. That was why Jian Wushuang only took the mirror out now. I wonder how strong the mirror is now. With a glimmer of hope, he summoned one godly spirit. A dark shadow appeared. There came along an eerie chill, as if it came from hell itself. This aura was terrifying enough to scare even Jian Wushuang himself. Luckily, it was him. If it was a normal real god, or Sir God, they would choke in the face of this horrifying aura. The strength of this aura, to a certain extent, also symbolized the power of the godly spirit. Chapter 2067, Returning to Ancient God Sanctuary. 2067, Returning to Ancient God Sanctuary. Judging from the aura, this godly spirit has the power of a great emperor, Jian Wushuang muttered. If one godly spirit alone had so much power, then the battle power of five of them when used together would be, looks like I have my hands on another life-saving item. Jian Wushuang smiled. After keeping the godly spirit in the five-fire godly spirit mirror, Jian Wushuang set off. The territory that belonged to the special tribes was far away from human territory. Jian Wushuang had spent 10 years on getting to Ancient God Sanctuary initially. As his social status improved, he could use many hidden wormholes within Sanctuary Alliance, which shortened the time needed to travel. He passed through the wormhole and appeared at Ancient God Sanctuary. He did not sense anything different when he arrived back at Ancient God Sanctuary after so many years of absence. However, Jian Wushuang knew that the information that Sanctuary Alliance had was not from wild guesses. There had to be a civil war going on. I should go to Gu King City and ask King Gu Tong and get an update from him on the civil war, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. Within ancient God clan, there were 9 great king cities. Where he was closest to Gu King City. He arrived in the void above Gu King City soon after, thanks to how quick he was. Jian Wushuang used his soul power to cover the entire Gu King City. After using his soul power to scan the city, he frowned. What is going on? King Gu Tong, King Guyu, and King Gu Yi are all missing. Jian Wushuang was suspicious. He came to Gu King City before. This city was controlled by the ancient clan. The master of the city was Abysmal King. However, Jian Wushuang did not sense any familiar aura within Gu King City. On the contrary, he sensed many foreign presences. These foreign experts sensed his daring use of his soul power and were alarmed. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Within seconds, 7 figures rose from the city and appeared in front of Jian Wushuang. The weakest among the 7 was a 7-star ancient god, while the strongest was an 8-star ancient god. Who are you? And why are you here? The muscular 8-star ancient god said, as he gazed at Jian Wushuang. He saw the 8 stars between Jian Wushuang's brows and treated him as an expert of the same power level. Am Gu Jian. I have just returned from the human territory. Jian Wushuang responded by giving the alias he had used when had first come to ancient god sanctuary. As far as I know, the masters of this city are the brothers King Guyu and King Gu Tong. Why are they not here? King Guyu? King Gu Tong? Are you part of the ancient clan, since your surname is Gu, the 8-star ancient god, and the 6 remaining 7-star ancient god faces turned cold? I am indeed part of the ancient clan. Jian Wushuang nodded his head and admitted, you have the courage to come here after ancient clan's betrayal. Shouldn't you be staying within Luo Wang City? The 8-star ancient god scoffed so loudly that his voice reverberated in the king's city. Betrayal? Jian Wushuang frowned. Everyone, he is a rebel from the ancient clan. Assist me in arresting him. If he resists, kill him. The 8-star ancient god bellowed. Immediately, he led the rest and attacked Jian Wushuang. These 7 ancient gods used their fighting power when they attacked. They used a wide array of skills. Some revealed universal laws, while some used the ancient god finger. The different ancient god secret skills and ancient god lost knowledge were executed perfectly. Upon seeing this, Jian Wushuang's face darkened. Get lost! His roar was accompanied by a mix of endless divine power and bloodline power that was far superior to most ancient gods. The ancient god bloodline power radiated out in waves within the city. The 7 ancient gods who attacked Jian Wushuang were stunned and stopped in their tracks. All of their attacks disintegrated. They gazed at Jian Wushuang in awe. They could sense how strong Jian Wushuang was from that simple roar. Additionally, they felt the aura from his bloodline power. That aura from his bloodline power made them feel like submitting and worshipping Jian Wushuang. This aura, it's the aura of an emperor? How can this be? How can someone from the ancient clan have the aura of an emperor? They are traitors. Who is he? Who is he? These ancient gods looked at Jian Wushuang in terror. The 8-star ancient god too stared in disbelief. Jian Wushuang looked at them coldly. He snorted and left after scanning the 7 ancient gods. He did not retaliate in return. The ancient gods heaved a sigh of relief after Jian Wushuang left the void above the city and went out of sight. When Jian Wushuang stood there, the aura made their cores tremble in fear and forced them to worship him. That man, He said his name is Gu Jian, and he returned from the human territory recently. His bloodline power felt purer than that of a royal ancient god. Is he the man that Luo Yu King and the rest support? The 8-star ancient god widened his eyes when he thought of this. He actually personally came to ancient god sanctuary. No, I must report this to Lord Chen. She immediately. The 8-star ancient god whipped out a transmission token and sent the message. After leaving Gu King City, Jian Wushuang traveled for a while before stopping in midair. He looked back in the direction of Gu King City. He squinted his eyes slightly and thought to himself, "That is indeed Gu King City, where I first cultivated the ancient god skills and ancient god lost knowledge. Back then, the city was under the control of the ancient god clan. Now, Gu Yu King and Gu Tong King are no longer in the city anymore. The people in the city even think of me as a traitor when I reveal my surname. My master, fighting power is what determines who gets to rule over the great king cities within the ancient god clan. It is normal for the masters of these cities to change every once in a while. However, even if a new ancient god defeats the previous master of the city, the previous master will just leave the city. He will not be seen as a traitor." Evidently, something big happened within the ancient god clan. King of Venomous Worms said to Jian Wushuang, Chapter 2068, kill him on the spot. 2068, kill him on the spot. That 8-star ancient god just mentioned that experts of the Gu clan should be hiding in Luo Wang City. That city's controlled by King Luo Yu, if I'm not mistaken. Let me ask him. Jian Wushuang took out the transmission token King Luo Yu had given him previously. King Luo Yu, Jian Wushuang here. The message was sent. "Oh, Sword Emperor, you're here at the ancient god sanctuary." A reply soon followed. "Yeah, I heard there's been a brawl within the ancient god clan. I immediately made my way here from the human domain, visiting Gu King City too. But Gu King City's no longer under the Gu clan? What happened? How are the brothers King, Gu Yu, and Gu Tong?" It's a long story. I better save it for when we meet. Regarding the brothers, they're within my city walls. Ping me your location, and they'll get them to pick you up. King Luo Yu replied. Sure. Jian Wushuang nodded and sent his location, waiting in the void near Gu King City as time passed. At the ancient god sanctuary, within the vast void, lay a huge floating architectural complex. Within this complex, at its center, there was a palace one could not possibly not notice. Within that palace, a 3-meter-tall middle-aged man, in chrome battle armor, sat on the towering throne. This man was stone-faced, but the ferocious aura visible through his eyes was enough to startle one. But his most eye-catching feature was the 9 stars between his eyebrows. A 9-star ancient god was equivalent to a great emperor-level expert amongst the humans. But he was not King Luo Yu. It was another within the ancient god clan, the much older King Chen Xing. King Chen Xing's expression had changed. He had received the notice from that 8-star ancient god within Gu Wang City. Gu Jian, a being just arrived from the human domain, but within lies a bloodline purer and better than the royal ancient god clan. Sword Emperor. King Chen Xing immediately lifted his head. Sword Emperor, whom Luo Yu tried so hard to push to become the new ancient god emperor, has finally arrived at my ancient god sanctuary, HNGH. So, what if your bloodline is pure? The ancient god emperor of the clan will only be one. The rest can forget about it. Besides, this sword emperor is of human descent and was not born within the ancient god clan. He is so much closer to humans than to us. What right does he have to become the ancient god emperor? In the ancient god clan, bloodline preceded everything else. That was the rule. Most people agreed with this rule, but to those elite experts, All rules could be bent, as long as you had enough strength. Any rule could be bent with power. The fact that King Chen Xing did not recognize Jian Wushuang's bloodline was not only due to his human descent, but also because deep in his heart he only acknowledged one ancient god emperor. Zhan Song, King Chen Xing shouted. King Chen Xing. At the bottom of the palace came a stocky, tanned, gorilla-like man. The Sword Emperor has appeared, just beside Guwang City. Bring someone over and invite him here, King Chen Xing instructed. Invite him, the gorilla-like man was stunned. Of course we'll invite him, but the way to invite? You should know how. If you can't do it, kill him on the spot. King Chen Xing's eyes were filled with ferocity. Aye, Zhan Song nodded solemnly. Soon he took off with his finest men. The void outside Guwang City. Jian Wushuang waited quietly for a full fortnight. So, two figures appeared in front of Jian Wushuang's line of sight. They were the brothers King Gu Yu and Gu Tong. Jian Wushuang. King Gu Tong had interacted with Jian Wushuang several times, and they were on good terms. A refreshing smile greeted Wushuang. Sword Emperor. King Gu Yu was obviously more reserved. Hope you are doing fine. Jian Wushuang smiled. They made some small talk. Gents, Guwang City, what happened? Jian Wushuang asked. What else we got attacked? King Gu Tong shrugged. The people in control of the city. Now, they were enough against the both of you two? Jian Wushuang frowned. He knew clearly King Gu Yu had long ago attained the 8-star ancient god expert level, equivalent to a peak universe god in the human domain. King Gu Tong had also made it to the 8-star level these past couple of years. He was not as strong as the Abysmal King, but certainly not too far behind. Along with so many 7-star ancient gods within the Gu clan, their power was astonishing. Those experts in Guwang City could not have possibly taken down the city by themselves. Those people, of course, they couldn't do it alone. They had help. We brothers weren't enough to handle them, King Gu Tong said. So I see, Jian Wushuang replied. I'll tell you the details back at Luo Wang City, Sword Emperor. King Luo Yu is waiting for you, the Abysmal King replied. Let's go then. Mind if you'll lead the way? Jian Wushuang smiled. Under the brothers' lead, they headed towards Luo Wang City. Along the way, the trio started to chit-chat. Wushuang, the last time I saw you was back at your hometown Green Fire World. When you still hadn't made your breakthrough, you were already considered the top peak universe god amongst human cultivators. Now that the breakthrough has been made, you are certainly much stronger, right? King Gu Tong looked over. Slightly, I guess, Jian Wushuang replied humbly. Could you fight a 9-star ancient god? King Gu Tong continued his questions. Should be able to. Wushuang smiled. Really? King Gu Tong had his reservations. Jian Wushuang smiled, but did not explain much. Suddenly, Jian Wushuang halted. What's wrong? King Gu Yu and Gu Tong paused as well, looking towards Jian Wushuang. Someone is here. They're strong, and they don't lack in numbers, Jian Wushuang said. King Gu Yu and Gu Tong's faces turned dark. Soon after, several figures could be seen in their line of sight. 10 people had formed a row, each with such powerful auras. The weakest among them was a top 7-star ancient god. 4 8-star ancient gods were amongst the men, but the most eye-catching was the stocky, tanned, gorilla-like man. The stars between that man's eyebrows. He had 9. Chapter 2069 Invitation. Invitation. That is King Zhan Song, leader of the Zhan clan. Blood drained from King Gu Yu and King Gu Tong's face. Gu Tong King wanted to slap himself hard. He had just asked whether Jian Wushuang could go head-to-head with a 9-star ancient god, and one had appeared. Zhan clan. Jian Wushuang thought as he frowned. He asked, within the ancient god clan, Isn't there only King Luoyu and King Xing, who are 9-star ancient gods? There was indeed only 2 9-star ancient gods. However, not too long ago, a new ancient battlefield appeared near your hometown. Many of the ancient gods went there to search for opportunities. They managed to gain some rewards. King Zhansong reaped the greatest benefits. He managed to use the opportunities within the ancient battlefield and became a 9-star ancient god. King Guyu said. Is that so? Jian Wushuang nodded his head. King Zhansong and the Zhan clan were always obeying King Xing and listening to his orders. The ancient god clan sides with King Luo Yu while we support you. On the other hand, King Xing opposes this idea firmly. King Zhansong probably got news that Sword Emperor came to ancient god's sanctuary and came especially for you. His intentions are bad. He has bad intentions? Jian Wushuang smiled lightly. What could a 9-star ancient god that was just promoted due to opportunity do even if his intentions were bad? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 10 ancient god experts, together with their leader King Zhansong, appeared in front of the trio. King Zhansong, who was the size of a gorilla, first scanned King Guyu and King Gutong before looking at Jian Wushuang. Are you the Sword Emperor? King Zhansong asked coldly. Yes, I am. Jian Wushuang nodded his head. I am Zhansong. If you want to inherit the place of the ancient god emperor, follow me so that we can discuss this matter. King Zhansong said. King Guyu and King Gutong panicked. King Zhansong. If King Xing really wanted King Zhansong to inherit the throne of the ancient god emperor, he wouldn't be fighting so fiercely against King Luoyu, nor would he send you here to invite Sword Emperor. He would have come personally. King Gutong shouted. Keep quiet. King Zhansong scolded as he glanced at King Gutong. You are just a mere 8-star ancient emperor. You have no place to speak. King Gutong was stunned. He had no choice but to tolerate it even though he was upset. An 8-star ancient god should always respect a 9-star ancient god. Sword Emperor, follow me, King Zhansong said once again. What if I refuse? Jian Wushuang smiled. Refuse? Ha ha. Do you think you have the right to refuse when I invite you personally? Be logical, or I will take action. King Zhansong threatened. Take action? I really want to know what you will do. Jian Wushuang grinned as he took a step. Even though his step looked casual, it closed the distance between him and King Zhansong instantly as he appeared in front of King Zhansong. A wave of strong diving power and bloodline power, which was many times purer than that of a royal ancient god, swept out in all directions at that instant. Jian Wushuang raised his right hand and pointed his index finger towards King Zhansong. Once the finger was extended, heaven and earth turned silent. Boom! Emerging in the void behind Jian Wushuang was a black, shiny mirage of an ancient god that was tens of thousands of feet tall. This gargantuan mirage also pointed out its finger. This finger was the ancient god's 9th finger. This was the last move under the ancient god's finger. The name, Ultimate Finger. You are asking for it. King Zhansong was enraged when Jian Wushuang attacked him without saying a word. His ancient god body, which was as large as an orangutan, expanded in size rapidly. Endless waves of ancient god power gushed out furiously. A humongous mirage of an ancient god appeared behind him. It also attacked with the same technique. Ancient god's 9th finger. The only difference was that his ancient god mirage was dark gold, which was a telltale sign that he was a member of royalty. On the other hand, Jian Wushuang's mirage was dark green. Bang! The 2 fingers collided head-on. 2 waves of shocking power erupted and burst forth in all directions. King Zhansong was confident in his own power. He was a 9-star ancient god, one of only 3 within the ancient god clan. However, Jian Wushuang was just an 8-star ancient god. The difference in power level was still evident even if Jian Wushuang had bloodline power, which was pure, that could suppress his fighting power. Since the move was the same, he was absolutely confident in destroying Jian Wushuang's ultimate finger. However, his confidence shook the moment the 2 fingers collided. The air howled as the endless ancient god power dispersed in all directions. His dark gold ultimate finger fell apart and exploded. It couldn't even put up a fight to stop Jian Wushuang's ultimate finger. The moment it collided, it disappeared. Even though the difference in power level was evident, the ending was unexpected. How is this possible? King Zhansong widened his eyes. Jian Wushuang's ultimate finger came upon him. He had no time to react, as he was still stunned. Boom! The enormous ultimate finger smashed into King Zhansong. It shoved King Zhansong towards the ground ruthlessly and effortlessly. It was as though he was a mere fly. Crash! The entire earth shook. A crater so deep that on one could see what was at the bottom formed. King Zhansong was completely buried at the bottom of the crater. There was no movement even after a while, so no one knew what his condition was. After doing all of this, Jian Wushuang patted his own sleeves as the huge mirage of the ancient god disintegrated into nothingness. However, the aura of his bloodline, which was purer than that of a royal ancient emperor, still swept out in all directions. He looked down on the crater that King Zhansong was in and smiled in disdain. He was simply a 9-star ancient god who got promoted recently. How dare he tell me that he will take action if I refuse his offer? What an idiot! A 9-star ancient emperor was just equivalent to a normal great emperor back in the human territory. A 9-star ancient emperor who had just been promoted was equivalent to the most normal stage 1 great emperor. He could fight 13 of such great emperors alone back when he was in 3 Emperors' World. Chapter 2070 within Luo King City. So what about you guys? Are the rest of you going to invite me as well? Jian Wushuang said coldly as he scanned the remaining 10 ancient gods. The remaining 10 ancient gods who had 7 or 8 stars looked at Jian Wushuang in awe and disbelief. They lowered their heads upon hearing his question. Even someone with the power level of King Zhansong could be defeated easily by Jian Wushuang. They would not risk their lives and anger Jian Wushuang. Since no one is going to invite me, get lost, Jian Wushuang raged. The ancient gods stepped aside immediately and made a path. King Guyu and King Gu Tong, let us continue our journey. Jian Wushuang looked at the 2 of them and said. At that point in time, King Guyu and King Gu Tong were shocked beyond words. King Gu Tong doubted that Jian Wushuang could fend off a 9-star ancient god, even when Jian Wushuang himself said that he could. But now, Jian Wushuang had crushed a 9-star ancient emperor with a single technique. Even King Luo Yu could not have achieved this feat besides feeling surprised. They were euphoric. This was their true emperor. He had both insane power and strong bloodline power. Let's go. The 3 of them made their way towards Luo King City. Within the large ditch, King Zhansong stood up after a while. By then, Jian Wushuang and the other 2 men were already far away. After half a month, Jian Wushuang reached Luo King City under the guidance of the 2 kings. Sword Emperor, this is Luo King City. The experts form Luo clan, Gu clan, and many other clans are gathered here. However, Luo King City is barricaded by the men under King Xing, my brother, and I put in a lot of effort just to get out to welcome you. King Guyu said, barricaded? Looks like you are at a complete disadvantage in this fight. Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows and said. King Guyu sighed and continued, I have messaged King Luo Yu and asked for his aid to bring us into the city. We should send a message to King Luo Yu to inform him that we are arriving. However, we do not need his aid. We will make our way in by ourselves, Jian Wushuang said as he rushed towards the city. Entering by force? King Guyu was stunned for a moment. Then he recalled the fighting power of Jian Wushuang and understood how, before long, violent roars and clashes could be heard. The trio had fought the experts under the command of King Xing. However, under the ruthless attacks, the experts lost to Jian Wushuang. The trio broke past the barricade easily and appeared in front of the city. King Luo Yu, numerous 7-star ancient gods, and 8-star ancient gods stood there waiting for the arrival of Jian Wushuang. Sword Emperor, King Luo Yu greeted respectfully. He walked up as soon as he saw Jian Wushuang in the distance. King Luo Yu, how have you been? Jian Wushuang smiled. The remaining ancient gods that were standing behind King Luo Yu looked at Jian Wushuang curiously. They knew his identity as King Luo Yu had told them earlier that Jian Wushuang possessed bloodline of emperors and that they should support him in becoming their new master. Aside from King Gutong, King Guyu, and a few others, no one had met Jian Wushuang before, much less confirmed the bloodline power others claimed he had. They were unsure if the claims were true. Jian Wushuang smiled lightly when he saw that everyone doubted him. The aura of the bloodline power of the ancient clan burst forth. This aura, all the ancient gods were startled. The aura of an emperor. This is definitely the bloodline power of an emperor. Ha! This certainly is the bloodline power of an emperor. Looks like King Luo Yu was right. There is indeed someone with the bloodline of emperors. How dare this King Xing vow that we are traitors? I want to see what he has to say after the message that the bloodline of emperor exists spreads. All the ancient gods looked at Jian Wushuang in excitement. King Luo Yu smiled when he saw the changes in expressions. He said, Sword Emperor, please enter the city. We can continue the conversation inside. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded his head and said, under the personal guidance of King Luo Yu, Jian Wushuang entered Luo King City. There were many 7 and 8 stars ancient gods seated within the large, magnificent palace. At the top of the palace, there were 2 thrones side by side. Jian Wushuang sat on one beside King Luo Yu. King Luo Yu, what's happened? Jian Wushuang asked. After I confirmed that you, Sword Emperor, have the bloodline of emperors back in Greenfire World, I came back to Ancient God's Sanctuary immediately. I gathered the different clan leaders and the masters of various king cities to come together to support you as our new emperor. King Luo Yu started explaining. In the history of our clan, bloodline power is supreme. Since you possess the bloodline power of emperors, you should become our new emperor. However, during the gathering, King Xing questioned this. He said that your blood is mixed with that of a human, so you do not deserve to be our new emperor. He further accused that my Tuo clan conspired with the humans and are traitors to the ancient god clan. Hence, during the meeting, I fell out with King Xing. Out of all the different clan leaders and masters of king cities, only 30% of them sided with me. However, 40% sided with King Xing. 40%. I thought that bloodline power is supreme within the ancient god clan. Why do 40% of the experts support King Xing? And what happened to the other 30%? Jian Wushuang knitted his eyebrows and asked, It is indeed true that bloodline power is supreme in our clan. However, some people felt it unfair that you possess the bloodline power of emperor, while others had not seen you with their own eyes. Most importantly, the influence of King Xing is too strong in the ancient god clan. King Luo Yu sighed. King Xing is the oldest and most senior within the clan. He is also the strongest person. There was no one born with the bloodline of emperors till this date. Hence, he is always the leader in our clan. He plays an important role in deciding the masters of different king cities in the fight against the other 3 top-tier clans, as well as resolving clashes with other special tribes. Furthermore, he is the direct royal bloodline of first ancient god emperor. Direct royal bloodline. Jian Wushuang was stunned before he continued. You mean, yes, his father is ancient god emperor. King Luo, he said seriously. Chapter 27E, one alone. No wonder. Jian Wushuang commented. As the heir to ancient god emperor, King Xing had superior bloodline power compared to the rest. He was the most recognized leader of the ancient god clan and the strongest person within the clan. His influence was evident within the clan. No wonder 40% of the experts supported him. Wait, ancient god emperor was an expert in the first era. He should have died when the first era ended. Wouldn't that mean that King Xing also came from the first era if he was the son? Jian Wushuang said, startled. Yes, ancient god emperor had 3 sons in the first era, and King Xing was the youngest. During the first era, he was not powerful and was not a 9-star ancient god. He was just an 8-star ancient god. After the first era ended, ancient god emperor and his elder 2 sons died. He survived with a minimal number of ancient gods. They started to reproduce and eventually formed the ancient god clan today. In fact, all of the 3 most powerful tribes are living legacies from the first era. King Luo, you said. Jian Wushuang's heart skipped a beat. No wonder. It seems like King Xing made great contributions to the ancient god clan. Jian Wushuang smiled. King Xing managed to lead a tribe which had barely survived the first era to become a dominating force in the second era. His ability and power deserved respect from the general population of ancient gods. King Xing made great contributions to the ancient god clan. However, he will admit to only his father having a purer bloodline power. It is to no surprise that he acted with hostility towards me when he learnt that I support you in becoming the new ancient god emperor. King Luo, you said. I am no match for King Xing as he is a powerful man. Furthermore, he gained the support of one of the 9-star ancient gods from the Zhan clan. All I could do was stay within Luo Wang City to think of ideas. Jian Wushuang nodded his head to show that he understood. King Xing sealed off Luo King City during this time period. It is extremely difficult for us to leave the city, let alone for us to force King Xing to back off. We were no match for him. Now that you are here, it should be much easier to solve the existing problems. King Luo, you said with a serious face. How so? Jian Wushuang looked at King Luo Yu with interest. The ancient clan puts bloodline power above all else. No matter how big the contributions of King Xing, and no matter how widespread his influence is, it will not change this fact. The reason why 40% of the clan supports him is because they have yet to see you. Hence, they are not sure whether you possess the bloodline of emperors. Since you have arrived at Ancient God Sanctuary, those remaining 30% who have yet to make up their minds will definitely support you. King Luo, you said, the masters of the king cities and various clans may be willing to support me. However, King Xing probably will not, even if he verifies that I have the bloodline of emperors, Jian Wushuang said. This. King Luo, you frowned and said, King Jianchen will only submit to his father. It is not possible for him to serve you willingly. However, there is no way he could influence the will of the masses in the ancient god clan. Even though that may be the case, it will be much better if King Xing decides to serve me willingly. Jian Wushuang smiled. By the way, what is the power level of King Xing Chen? King Xing Chen is unanimously thought of as the strongest in the ancient god clan. His power level is at the limit of a 9-star ancient god, and he is the second strongest in the special tribe. His fighting power should be similar to that of a normal stage 2 great emperor. Jian Wushuang was surprised. A normal stage 2 emperor, Jian Wushuang possessed one of the highest fighting powers out of all the stage 2 great emperor. If this was the case, he should be more powerful than King Chen Xing, given that the emperor bloodline power would further suppress the fighting power of King Chen Xing. Lead the way, King Luo Yu. I want to meet King Chen Xing, Jian Wushuang said as he stood up. King Luo Yu's face turned pale. There is a great difference in power between our faction and his faction. To go and find King Chen Xing now would be suicide. I think we should send a message to the other 3% of the clan and to the masters of the different cities. We will gather together before finding King Chen Xing. This is a much safer way. Let us save the trouble. We shall head there now. Jian Wushuang smiled. King Luo Yu frowned and stopped trying to discourage the Sword Emperor. Under the guidance of King Luo Yu, Jian Wushuang left Luo Wang City and reached a vast void. There were large groups of buildings floating within this void. There were many faint but overbearing auras radiating out from the buildings. King Chen Xing is within those buildings, Sword Emperor. I shall call him to come and meet us. King Luo Yu said. There is no need. Jian Wushuang waved him off. Wait for me here. I will find him personally. You are going alone. No way. King Luo Yu was shocked. Calm down and watch what happens. Jian Wushuang smiled as he moved towards the buildings. King Luo Yu turned pale, and the remaining ancient gods present were puzzled. They felt that the Sword Emperor was too arrogant. It was obvious that King Chen Xing was not on good terms with the Sword Emperor. They felt like the Sword Emperor was asking for it when he entered the home of King Chen Xing alone. He clearly knew that he might be killed. King Guyu and King Gu Tong were the only 2 people that remained calm. King Luo Yu, there is something I have yet to report. King Guyu said. What is it? King Luo Yu sounded agitated, as he was clearly worried for the safety of Jian Wushuang. When King Gu Tong, Sword Emperor, and I were on our way back to Luo Wang City, we met Zhan Song. King Guyu said, Zhan Song? King Luo Yu's face tightened. 9-star Royal Ancient God Zhan Song. He must have been listening to King Chen Xing's orders and went after Sword Emperor. How did all of you escape? Escape? There was no need to run. Sword Emperor fought Zhan Song and beat him with just one move, King Guyu said as he shook his head. Chapter 2072 King Chen Xing. He only needed one move to defeat Zhan Song. King Luo Yu widened his eyes. The surrounding ancient gods looked over at King Guyu in disbelief. Zhan Song was a legit 9-star ancient god. Even King Luo Yu could not defeat him in one move. Even though Sword Emperor is an 8-star ancient god, his true power is much greater than that of most 9-star ancient gods. There is a reason why he decided to meet King Chen Xing alone. Everyone, don't worry for his safety, King Guyu said. So this is why Jian Wushuang dared to go alone. King Luo Yu heaved a sigh of relief. However, King Chen Xing is already a stage 2 ancient god. He is not easy to deal with. If anything unexpected happens, we will help him immediately. Yes, the ancient gods around nodded their heads. Jian Wushuang appeared at the foot of his state. Who is that? A stern voice shouted. Jian Wushuang did not halt. He smiled and continued walking. Right when he was about to enter the estate, an aura of bloodline power many times purer than that of a royal ancient god burst forth from Jian Wushuang. It felt like a dragon was awakening as the aura filled the entire atmosphere. Many of the ancient gods, including those from the various clans and the different masters of the various cities, felt pressured to submit and bow down to their new emperor. All of them were caught by surprise. That is the aura of an emperor. What, King Luo, you said was true. Someone with the bloodline of emperors was born. A new emperor. Everyone within the estate were boiling with curiosity as many ancient gods flew out. The entire place was densely packed within moments. Everyone was looking at the young man who was walking towards the center of the estate. Jian Wushuang placed his hands behind his back as he looked around and said with dignity, "Who dares to stop me?" This simple sentence forced many ancient gods to lower their heads. Those who tried to stop Jian Wushuang stepped aside without hesitation. Within the ancient god clan, bloodline is supreme. This concept was definitely true in this clan. They had only heard from King Luoyu that there had been a human born with the bloodline of emperor, and they should support him in becoming the new emperor. They chose to support King Xing because the new emperor was human. Furthermore, they could not confirm the claim as they had not met Jian Wushuang before. Once these ancient gods felt the aura of bloodline of emperors themselves, their doubts disappeared. Everyone looked at Jian Wushuang in an excited and passionate manner. The one who possessed the bloodline of emperors was their emperor. Even though the blood of a human flowed through his veins, this couldn't change the fact that he too possessed the bloodline of emperors. Every ancient god moved out of the way, and no one dared to stop Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang walked successfully to the center of the estate and stopped in front of the most majestic palace. Within the palace, a 3-meter-tall man in silver body armor stood up slowly. Behind the silver armor man was another man whose body was as big as a gorilla's. This man was King Zhansong. He had been defeated in a battle against Jian Wushuang. "Are you King Xing?" Jian Wushuang stared at the man in silver body armor and asked coldly, "Sword Emperor, you are a courageous man. You dare to venture here alone. Do you really think that your bloodline power will save you?" King Xing said as he stared back coldly. Before Jian Wushuang could reply, an 8-star ancient god, who also happened to be a master of a king city, spoke. "King Xing, according to the law of the ancient clan, we should support Jian Wushuang in becoming the new emperor, as he possesses the bloodline of emperors. I hope you can," before the 8-star ancient god finished his sentence. "Keep quiet." King Xing bellowed fiercely and stared at the 8-star ancient god as the ancient god was forced into silence. Within the ancient god clan, there will only be one emperor, and that will be my father. He is of paramount importance within the clan. On the other hand, so what if Jian Wushuang possessed the bloodline power of emperor? At the end of the day, he is still a human. Who gave him the right to be the emperor of the ancient god clan? King Xing questioned coldly as his voice reverberated through the air. The ancient gods around kept quiet after hearing this. "King Xing, I'm going to ask you one last time. Are you going to submit?" Jian Wushuang said coldly, "Submit? Ha ha, me? Submitting to a mere human like you?" King Xing started laughing as though he had just heard the funniest joke in the world. "Are you not going to? If that's the case, then do not blame me for what's going to happen." Jian Wushuang focused his vision on King Xing and leaped forth. Boom! The void beneath Jian Wushuang's feet exploded into pieces. Surging waves of divine power and bloodline power radiated from Jian Wushuang. At that moment, Jian Wushuang pointed his finger. Heaven and earth trembled as a mirage of an ancient god tens of thousands feet tall appeared behind Jian Wushuang, copying his stance. At the tip of its finger, a ball of diving power started to concentrate, glowing dark green. "It's this move again." King Zhansong, who was standing behind King Xing, widened his eyes, and hints of fear could be seen in them. King Zhansong had been defeated easily using this move back when he had invited Jian Wushang using force. Now Jian Wushang had used the same move and attacked King Xing. Humph! King Xing grunted as he started to boil with divine power. His aura grew to a peak instantly. He was different from King Zhansong. King Zhansong had only reached the level of a 9-star ancient god recently. However, King Xing had been at the peak of a 9-star ancient god for a very long time. His fighting power was that of a stage 2 great emperor back in the first era. He was much stronger than King Zhansong. Jian Wuxuang, you are asking for it, King Xing said coldly. Upon finishing his sentence, he too channeled his divine power and attacked. He too used the ancient god's 9th finger, the ultimate finger. The power was at least 10 times stronger than when King Zhansong had performed the same move. The 2 fingers collided head-on. Heaven and earth rumbled fiercely. The void shattered as the limitless amount of divine power gushed violently in all directions. In the end, both fingers disintegrated into nothingness after the intense collision.